most dangerous guy in the division.
One of the best fighters I've ever seen.
This is special.
She has all the skills to get her belt back.
This is it.
Rose Namajunas is coming for revenge.
Wow, that is how it's done. Absolutely incredible. Boom.
What an exciting night.
I cannot wait for it.
Welcome back to Fight Week. It is weigh-in day for UFC 274. We are on BT Sport, and I am Adam Catterall. It's a pleasure, as always, to be with you and with these fellas. Fresh from his 1990s tribute act, Wham! It is, of course, Nick Peet there with the old denim jacket on. Like it, mate, looking fresh. And we've also got the main man, the Hall of Famer, Mike Bisping. Listen, I'm getting it in because I'm obviously in a different location here, and some of the bands that was going on before this show, I thought I'd get me digs in.
Dun, 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 the Emperor.
Look at him, Emperor Palpatine, on a slim fast diet.
Listen, we've got an action-packed show lined up for you in around about 13 minutes' time in Phoenix, Arizona. The boys and girls of UFC 274 are going to be hitting the scales, and we're going to be talking you through that. We've got two fantastic world title fights to get excited about, a people's main event, a stacked main card, and a little bit of British interest as well on the prelims too. It's going to be an absolute cracking night. A little bit of a reminder for you, because after these weigh-ins, obviously you're going to want to know when you can consume all this. That prelim card gets underway from 1 a.m. in the early hours of the morning on Sunday on BT Sport 1, with that main card getting underway from 3. And there it is. Let's start right at the top, shall we? With the lightweight title on the line. The champion, that is Charles Oliveira, defending once again, this time against Justin Gaethje. Been watching them all week, Mike, going back and forth, having a little bit of a chin wag. And I tell you something, they've got me extremely excited about this. The matchups, the style that in this matchup are absolutely perfect, and are going to lead to an absolute cracking fight tomorrow evening.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. These guys are going to absolutely go to war. Charles Oliveira, what he's doing right now is unbelievable. 10-fight win streak, 9 of them stoppages. Took away this narrative that he's a quitter. Now he's making people quit. He's finishing them. Boom, look at that. Drops Michael Chandler with the authority to become the champion. It seems like, well, it's not that it seems. He has no weak areas. He can grapple. He's got jiu-jitsu. He's got knockout power. But guess what? So has Justin Gaethje. He hits harder. He's probably got the better wrestling, but all round, these two match up very, very well. Now, another thing is that Justin Gaethje is coming into this one, bit of a chip on his shoulder, second shot of becoming the lightweight champion. If he doesn't pull it off this time, might not get a third, so make no mistake, Gaethje is coming in with everything that he has.
He's taken the right direction in order to make this happen, Nick, Justin Gaethje, that is. I mean, this time around, he's decided to rent a villa rather than be at the Fighters Hotel. He's hired a nutritionist. He's brought in all his own food, all his own water, all the things that he can control throughout the course of the week. He's most certainly controlling him in order to get his mind ready for the task in hand on Saturday.
Yeah, that suggests to me, obviously, that he's focused, that he's trying not to leave any stone unturned, because he knows what's in front of him. He knows he's got an incredibly dangerous opponent standing across from him, Charles Oliveira, the best lightweight on the planet. And he knows that Oliveira right now is at the peak of his powers, and the only way he beats him is by being the very, very best version of Justin Gaethje. I love this face-off yesterday. Hopefully we get another one today. But look at Oliveira there, just staring them down, not doing it Adam Catterall and jumping out the way, terrified of Gaethje when you guys did a head-to-head last year. Oliveira staring them down. Look at Gaethje, couldn't get off the stage quick enough. That, for me, suggests a little bit of nerves. That, for me, suggests that he knows that he faces a massive challenge against Oliveira, who, for me, right now, is pound for pound one of the best on the planet.
Just on that stare down, by the way, he went cross-eyed on me, so I didn't know which eye to look into, and then he threatened to headbutt me. It was Rose Namajunas who stole my soul on the head. Listen, as you can see, they're evenly matched, fellas. We've only got those 3 defeats on Justin Gaethje's ledger, but it's against the elite opposition here in the UFC. Just on that stare down yesterday, Mike, Gaethje didn't want to engage too much with Oliveira. Did you take much from that?
Well, first of all, what have you got against cross-eyed people? I take that personally, Mr. Catterall. If I take out this prosthetic, I am very cross-eyed. So shame on you. I've got a bone to pick when we meet in person. No, I don't read too much into that. It is what it is. I mean, some people would have stayed, milked the moment, enjoyed it because this could be the biggest moment of your career. Other people are just like, right, that's done. I'm focused. I'm dialed in. Get off the stage. Let's go do what we've got to do. Start the weight cut, whatever the case may be. The reality is, I don't think Justin Gaethje is scared. I don't think he's nervous. I don't think any of that. The man is a right? He's built for this. He really is. There's a reason why he's here. He's earned it the hard way. It's only Alvarez, Poirier, and Khabib that have taken care of him or beaten him in the past. In his mind, he believes he's going to win this fight. He's talking this week. He's bringing up the old narrative that Oliveira is a quitter. We know he's not, right? That was all down at 145. But when you're getting ready for a fight, believing things like that, even if though I'm sure that Justin Gaethje deep down doesn't believe that because he's not going to underestimate his opponent, but still they are tools that his coaches will use, that he will use to say, look, listen, this man has curled up in a ball and waited for the referee to stop. This man has tapped before. The fact that he's done that means he can do it again. So that gives you strength in training camp. You know what I mean? So these are just little tools that Justin's using. But yeah, to answer your question in a long roundabout fashion, no, I don't read anything into that. Maybe he was hungry.
Maybe. Listen, that's the main event. The core main event's a title fight as well. The strawweights are on deck. Rose Namajunas taking on Carla Esparza. It's a rematch 8 years removed. Nick, looking at this one, I mean, I was lucky enough to speak to Rose a little bit this week. She seems so comfortable now with being champion, whereas first time round, maybe it was a little bit too much for her.
Yeah, and even Rose herself has come out and said, it was a little bit too much for her emotionally. She just wasn't ready for that kind of spotlight, that kind of attention. But we've literally seen her grow in front of our eyes. She's gone from being this mild-mannered, timid cast member on Tough to being this absolute savage. Here she is just smashing up, the toughest girls in this strawweight division, the best Thai boxer in the strawweight division, battered her. The toughest, strongest girl in the division in Wiley beat her up as well. And now she gets the chance to do a clean sweep. A victory, a revenge victory over Carla Esparza would mean that Rose has beaten every single woman that's held the strawweight belt. A phenomenal stat for her, and she wants that one back, as you say. Eight years removed from the loss on Tough in the Tough final. And I think that Rose has just seen her this week in the Round Media Day speaking to you. She's so focused. She's so committed. She wants this one. She wants this one back. She wants to add it to her ledger. You've seen that yesterday when they did a little bit of a head-to-head as well. You can see the size difference there, Rose. Listen, we know what's going to happen. We know that Carla's got to shoot. She's got to go for the takedown. She's got to get her wrestling game going. She can't stand on the outside because Rose will light her up. But this is a very different version of Rose Namajunas as what she faced 8 years ago.
Yeah, Mike, just on the styles, I think everybody knows what Carla Esparza's got to do. A couple of stats for you to just chew over here. Most takedowns landed by any woman in UFC history, Carla Esparza at 42. And regarding Rose, when being taken down, Rose Namajunas, when facing less than 3 takedown attempts in a particular fight, is 7-1 in favour of victories. When she's faced 3 or more, she's 2-2. And the 2 victories are both split decisions. So it's imperative that Carla gets her game on, gets close to her, gets her hands on her, and gets that wrestling game going.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Carla's not going to win a stand-up fight. Simple as that. And I mean that with respect. We all have different styles. That is not her strength. Yes, she's a competent striker, but Rose is one of the best in the world at what she does, right? The movement of Rose Namajunas is going to cause significant problems for Carla Esparza because she moves laterally so well, side to side. She's always in perpetual motion. And if you're a moving target, it's hard for a wrestler to shoot because you're shooting straight lines. And if your opponent's going side to side, you're going to end up shooting on fresh air. So that's a problem for one. So Carla's got to cut off the cage, try and corral her up against the fence, and then try and clinch. And then from there, go down and, grab the legs, high crotch, single legs, trips, whatever you want. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but, you can't underestimate it. She has beaten her once, all right, 8 years ago. A lot has changed since then. But she's on a roll. There's a reason why she's here. She has earned this. You know what I mean? She was not given this because of insane popularity. She wasn't given this because she's like some superstar outside of the UFC. No, she's here because she did it the old-fashioned way. She's on a great win streak, and she has a victory in the past. So going into it, she has the mental momentum as well.
Absolutely. Wins against Marina Rodriguez and Li Jianan as well. On the People's Main Event, that's how it's been billed for a lot of people that are going to be tuning into BT Sport at the weekend, Nick. We've obviously got Michael Chandler taking on Tony Ferguson. I've got a wicked stat on Tony Ferguson. You'll love this, boys. Ferguson's opponents acquired a combined total of 24 minutes and 31 seconds control time over his first 17 fights. Check this. Over his last 2 fights, the control time has been 23 minutes and 54 seconds, nearly the exact same amount of control time over 2 fights than there was of 17, Nick. And that's kind of been the tale of where Tony's been at recently.
Yeah, he looks every inch, a fallen fighter heading towards retirement. And I think Michael Chandler's getting Tony Ferguson just at the right time. Don't get me wrong, we've seen this fight. We were all present in New York and Chandler and Gaethje went at it. One of the best, certainly the best fight last year. Sensational stuff. This was his debut, of course, knocking out Dan Hooker. He's had a glittering start to his UFC career when you think about the Oliveira title shot as well. And he gets yet another massive name in Tony Ferguson. But this is not the same Tony Ferguson from 3 or 4 years ago, who was lighting up the UFC, who seemed to be on a collision course with Khabib. That fight fell off 4 or 5 times, incredibly, and he never quite got there. But he's not the same animal as he is in these pictures. Look how far back it is. He's wearing shorts there that aren't even branded by Reebok, let alone Venom shorts. That's how far back we have to go to see the golden years of Tony Ferguson. He's not the same fighter no more. I think Michael Chandler's going to light him up, and he's going to light him up quick.
Listen, Mike, it's an unbelievable fight because the ramifications for the loser of this fight could be catastrophic. We've got a guy coming into this with 3 on the spin that he's lost. We've got a guy coming into this with 2 on the spin that he's lost. It's a must-not-lose fight.
Excuse me, brother, I'm talking, okay? Tony Ferguson this week is coming in with a bag of attitude, you know what I mean? And I absolutely love it. He's always got a chip on his shoulder, but this week is kind of accentuated that extra little bit. And that's because, yeah, you're right, he's under pressure. He's lost 3 in a row. He knows he has to win this fight if he's still going to be considered as a potential title challenger. And more importantly for that, just for him as a man, right? As competitors, as fighters, we take great pride in our ability to beat other men. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing for Tony Ferguson right now. Yes, of course, he wants to win. He wants to get his win bonus. He wants to still remain in talks for title challenger, but he wants to win a damn fight. He wants to get back to winning business because it hurts on every level. Hurts physically, but the emotional pain of losing fights and losing 3 in a row when you're Tony Ferguson, yeah, that's massive. So, and I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard from Anthony Smith that apparently he only trained a few times. 6 times Tony Ferguson trained for his last fight, and before that it was kind of a similar situation. Sounds like it could be an excuse, but if it's true, it could be a reason. Now he's coming in, dialed in, focused, looking for a win, but it ain't easy. I'll shut up because we can see the scales are now on display, and I have a feeling somebody's going to be walking out pretty soon. Adam Catterall, over to you with the official nuts and bolts.
Listen, we've got about a minute remaining before we get over to Phoenix, Arizona, before the guys and girls hit the scales. Just a quick one, boys. In our preview show, we were all unanimous on who was going to win the main, the co-main, and that People's Main Event. Have any of your opinions changed throughout the course of the week? Mike, coming to you first.
Yes. I mean, I'm not confident in it, but just the behavior of Tony Ferguson and what I'm hearing, I'm changing my mind. I'm saying Tony Ferguson.
Ooh.
When I said Michael Chandler, I thought Michael Chandler was going to flatline him, and that might still happen because he does hit very, very hard. He's just as motivated and all that good stuff. But you know what? Yeah. It's a hunch. It's a whim. It's probably a wild exaggeration or an unbelievable scenario, but Tony Ferguson is going to get the job done.
Nick, have you changed your mind on any of the 3 fights in question?
No. I think the closer it gets, the more I'm excited about Gaethje and putting pressure on Oliveira from early on, getting into that range, really getting his work going, seeing Trevor Whitman's brain kind of develop this fight and unlock what seems to be a little bit of a unbeatable superstar in Charles Oliveira. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But when I think about the fight as a whole, I still come back to the fact that I think Oliveira's just got more ways to win the fight than Justin Gaethje has. So I'm going to stick with and still, and Michael Chandler remaining a contender in this lightweight division.
There you go. I'm sure you've got your opinions as well as we get stuck into this show now for the next couple of hours. And you're more than welcome to interact with us on all our social media channels. Those channels as well open for you to ask questions throughout the course of this, because there will be lulls, no doubt. People do like to keep us waiting on these weigh-ins. So churn them in to the BT Sport various social media channels and we'll get them on for you. Right, let's see who's first in Phoenix, Arizona, shall we?
Champion Thug Rose Namajunas.
Is the champ.
No messing. The champ's on her way. Rose Namajunas taking on Carla Esparza. 8 years removed this rematch. She's been brilliant all week. Really relaxed, comfortable this time around being champion. Obviously, a two-time champion. First time, maybe a little bit too much, but this time, absolutely right in the zone. Really comfortable with who she is. Let's see what she weighs in at.
I mean, it's got to be on. She's not here first in the morning to miss weight.
115.
She's got a full 2 hours. And I guarantee, quick prediction right now, next out is going to be Justin Gaethje, because that's how Trevor Whitman rolls. But watch me make an absolute fool out of myself right now. It's going to be Tony Ferguson. But I think it will be Gaethje.
Let's have a look.
All right, next fighter to the scale is the former UFC interim lightweight champion, the #1 ranked lightweight contender, Justin the Highlight Gaethje.
Yeah, no.
You're good at this,
yeah,
man.
no.
You know?
I'm here
You're
all
good
this,
at
guys.
Come on. Eh?
Come on.
That was the easiest prediction all weekend.
They've shared a car together. There you go.
Guys, just give me the credit I deserve.
No, you've got it. You've got it, mate. Listen, Justin Gaethje, what an opportunity for him. He is the highlight. 20 finishes through 26 fights. He's been absolutely sensational. Can he give us another one tomorrow night?
155, the official weight for Justin Gaethje.
He looks in fantastic nick as well.
He does. He does. He looks very confident, very calm, very relaxed. You know, and it'll make a big difference for him being in Arizona, getting a title shot rather than being all the way over in Abu Dhabi in front of a very small crowd, which was his first shot against Habib as well. He's got whole messages here. You know, he was Arizona boy. He went to college there, so he won't get a better chance.
Here's the challenger for the strawweight strap. The original strawweight world champion, Carla Esparza, beat Rose Namajunas in that tough final 8 years ago. She's getting her shot again. And as Mike said a moment or two ago, earned it. 5 wins on the spin.
Taking the time today.
Yeah.
115, the official weight for Carla Esparza.
Oh, good. Listen,
She gets married
she's
next
got
week, lads.
absolutely nothing to lose, everything to gain. Massive performance against Yan Jiaonan last time out. That TKO, that crucifix finish. Mate, she's got 25 minutes to get to work.
Prelim live on ESPN in the UFC's welterweight division, Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts.
Here he is.
Your boy. You spoke to him this week. Nick, how is he?
He's in brilliant spirits. You know, he's had a tough couple of years. He only had one fight in the last 3 years because of injuries and COVID. And, you know, he couldn't get out to the US. He was stuck in the UK. But he's just signed a brand new UFC deal. This will be his 12th UFC ring walk. He's in a great mindset and he's out to prove a point, man. He jumped at this opportunity, even though Ronaldo's dangerous.
Yeah, and he looked great in his last fight against Ramazan Aviv. It was a split decision, but he did look good. Give him 3 full rounds. And that was only back in December. So hopefully the start of a proper schedule from him, because I do really enjoy watching Danny fight. Always fun to watch.
He's always an entertaining fight. And he's rocking that Wesley Snipes Demolition Man haircut as well.
So. In this morning, competing in the UFC's featherweight division.
Which means he's going to win, of course.
Of course. Obviously. Hey, it works for Derek Brunson. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Brunson's done it. Oliveira's doing it. They're all doing it, aren't they?
I'm doing it next.
Me and you might do it, Mike. Unfortunately, the Sith Lord can't do it, as you can see. But me and Mike might do it.
Macy, hold on, what's her name? Yeah, Macy Chasson. She's doing it.
He's all in.
Will the real Slim Shady please stand up?
That's it. She missed weight last time against Raquel Pennington. See if she makes it today.
45.5 for Macy Chasson.
She sure does. That'll be a relief for her.
The good news is, as well, boys, we've only got one heavyweight fight on this card. You know what I mean? So everyone else is itching to get to the scales.
Division, Melissa Gatto.
You'd hope so.
So everybody's going to be through for the first half an hour, and then we'll just be waiting for the big lads. The Lima will be wee a minute to go after he's done 2 buffies.
This girl's a little banger. 10 fights undefeated. Tons of finishes on there, which is unusual for female flyweights, as we know. But she can punch.
They are taking the time, because the thing is, the scales, the old school ones, it'll be bouncing up and down. But they got to speed this up.
Ooh. Championship weight for Gatto. Bit of a statement there. I like it. She had to wait 3 years to make a UFC debut, but she finally did last year and won them both. 2 big wins. Fernie. Speaking of bangers, this guy can punch as well. Fights out of Texas, Fortis MMA, which is one of the hot gyms out of that region right now.
Oh, yeah. Fortis is fantastic.
Series. Yeah.
The stable of bodies that they have down there. Saif Saud, the head coach, he's a fantastic mind. And I love the way he corners his fighters. He's very direct, but what he says and what comes out of his mouth is often gold.
Yeah.
Official weight 135.5 for Fernie Garcia.
He did not look happy. I thought he'd miss weight there. He looked very fed up. It's like, come on, mate, you've just made weight. Smile a bit.
Especially for your debut. UFC debut.
Yeah. Look alive. What's up with you?
The great state of Massachusetts, Joe Lozon.
Here he is.
There you go. Legends. Taking on
Yeah,
Cowboy.
Dana said this week as well that it could be a loser leaves town type of matchup, which I kind of get. They've both been around for ages. He made his debut UFC 63, I think, 2006. I was there with my old coach who got knocked out against Eddie Sanchez. And I remember seeing Joe Lozon and I'm thinking, who's this skinny little nerd? And he went out there, battered Jens Pulver in like under a minute. Yeah. I was like, okay. Yeah. Never judge a book by its cover.
155.5, the official weight for Joe Lozon.
I remember Joe Lozon.
26 months.
Yeah. He fought an old teammate of mine, Kurt Warburton. And Kurt, shout out Kurt, was a very, very good fighter. And when he got his UFC debut against Lozon, I fancied him to win it. My word. Again, Joe Lozon, put a beating on him. Which basically what I'm saying is demonstrates how good he is. Because Kurt Warburton was a very, very good fighter.
Yeah, man.
Here's your pick from the prelims, Mike. You've gone for Rude Boy Randy Brown. That fight there with Kaylin Williams was your fight to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
Here he is.
Size of him.
I know, he's long. And he knows how to use his reach as well, which is one of the main things.
Yeah.
Big smile.
$170.5, the official weight for Randy Brown.
It's a good fight, that one. They won't have to go looking for each other.
Nah. Chaos Williams as well. Beautiful knockout power. Yeah, it should be a good one.
All right, next fighter to the scale is the future Hall of Famer competing live on pay-per-view tomorrow night, Donald Cowboy Cerrone.
And without question, a future Hall of Famer. The body of work, the career that this man has had is sensational. Yeah. However, 6 fights without a win. Not a lot of pressure coming into this, even though there is. What I mean by that is because of so experienced as what he is, and he knows where he is in his career. I don't think he'll feel pressure. He'll want to win, of course. Nobody wants to lose 7 in a row.
No.
Hold on.
Interesting listening to him talk this week.
Official weight 155.5 for Donald Cerrone.
Very emotional.
Very matter of fact about quitting in the Conor McGregor fight. Here we go. Here's his little one.
No.
With the turtle pack on. Got to get the Ninja Turtles there. There you go. It's a big one for him. He hasn't won in 6.
Yeah. Fighting in front of his son. He was very emotional about fighting in front of his son. He was very forthcoming about, I didn't even want to be in the Conor McGregor fight. We could tell, Cowboy. We were there. We seen it. The ring walk lasted longer than the fight. And that worries me about where he is in his career. Hopefully, I think on Saturday night, win, lose or draw, I think he hangs him up, puts his gloves down.
I think he should, to be fair. Who's this? It's
Chaos Williams, Killing Williams.
Chaos.
Yeah. This guy's fast. He's powerful. His only loss in the UFC was against Michel Pereira. That's absolutely, there's no shame in that whatsoever. And as we said earlier, I think he's got 7 knockouts. Randy Brown's got a bunch of knockouts. These guys are going to come swinging for the fences.
Yeah, and in that loss to Pereira, I mean, that was good for him. It was a good developmental fight, because he'll learn from that and get better. It's all well and good going out and knocking people out in quick fashion, but you do need those kind of tough contests to learn and grow.
Weight for Chaos Williams.
What is it you keep calling him, Adam? Caden?
Kalen.
His name's Chaos.
Yeah. His real name's Kalen.
He changed
Oh,
it.
I see.
Like a proper psycho. So respect the man, okay? He went down the office. He did the paperwork. He changed his name legally. It's like you're calling Muhammad Ali Cassius
No, don't
Clay.
start now.
That is what you're doing. Shame on you.
Disrespect.
The disrespect. Ooh.
Anyway, here he is. Mikey, let's see where he's at.
I mean, look at him. He's
weight.
ripped.
Championship weight, just in case the main event's got an issue. You wait and see.
Shut up, Harry. My dog's having a right bark in the background. I apologize.
Okay, he's excited to see Michael Chandler.
The official weight for Michael Chandler.
Only just.
He's always in good shape.
Yeah, no. He's the only guy that I know that when I walked into commentate one day and he was doing the desk and in the dressing room where you get your makeup and everything put on, he's sitting there with his shirt off. Do you know what I mean? Because he can. Well, all right, put it away, big lad.
Mate, if we were all beach body like that, we'd be doing the exact same
would if we could.
wouldn't we? Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This guy can fight as well. Yeah, this guy's a prospect, man. Based obviously from Portugal, but based out of Sanford MMA with all the boys there in Florida. Again, he's got a loss to Pereira on his record, but that knockout against Beza last time out, first round, the kid's got heavy hands.
$170.5 for Andre Fialho.
Easy peasy.
That's a mat, isn't it? Mike Sanford MMA at the moment. Jeez.
Oh,
some bodies on
mate.
that mat. My goodness.
It's unreal. It's unreal. I mean, it's almost like the new American top team. That was the big super team, but now the other fighter on the card is coming out of Stanford MMA.
In the world, Brandon Raw Dog Royval.
Which is a conversation for another time because Brandon's walking out. That can be a plus and a negative. Of course, you need great training partners, but you need that one-on-one time. You need that 2 or 3 good training partners and the coaches around you to really pay that special attention. The problem is when you have so many stars on the mat, it's hard to get that one-on-one time.
Mm-hmm.
$125.5, the official weight for Brandon Royval.
I like that matchup. Submission guy in Royval against the striker in Schnell. He paired up quite nicely.
Ariane Carnelosi.
Carnelosi's on the way in. Are you boys a little bit surprised that I know that we've had 15 minutes? Are you a bit surprised that we've not seen the champion, Charles Oliveira, as of yet?
Not really. Not really. It's not a concern at all. As I always say, people have different approaches to it. You know, some people, obviously Trevor Whitman, because they were the first to want to weigh in as soon as possible, start the recovery process. Charles's process is a little different, or to your point, maybe he is struggling a little bit. You know, sometimes you just find with all the will in the world, those last couple of pounds don't come off. Or, as I say, that is being alarmist. Maybe he's just
Ariane Carnelosi.
Because typically you do your first half the night before, you do the second half in the morning, or 2/3 the night before the last third in the morning, or whatever.
All right, next
you know, maybe just the schedule is a little different.
Division, Tracy Cortez.
One half of the Brian Ortega, Tracy Cortez super couple. They're like Brangelina.
This girl's got a fascinating story, though. Her older brother, Jose, wanted to be the UFC fighter. He had some fights, never got to the UFC level. He got diagnosed with cancer and unfortunately passed away. And a tattoo on her left arm there, that's of her brother, Jose. He was best friends with Henry Cejudo. And that tattoo on her arm, she's fighting in the UFC to live out her brother's dreams as well. So incredible backstory there.
Yeah, I asked her about it one time
for Tracy Cortez
after one of her fights, and she got very, very emotional, obviously. But yeah, well pointed out, Nick.
She can fight too, Mike, as well. She's only 9-1.
Yeah,
it's a good matchup.
All right, now moving on to the men's flyweight division as we welcome 9th-ranked Matt Danger Schnell.
Is that fight that you mentioned a little earlier on, Nick? Stylistic matchup between Schnell and the Royval?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Matt Schnell. I've followed this kid ever since he was on that MTV reality show and stuff, and he's had a crazy journey. I think he's over at AT&T now, AKA, sorry, which is obviously a great gym. He's been a little bit of a nomad for a while, but he seems to have settled down. He should have had 3 fights or 4 fights with Alex Perez, and they all kept falling off because of weird circumstances, like, I don't know, medical reasons, and like 24 hours before the fight. So nice to see him actually making the walk.
125.5, the official weight for Matt Schnell.
Takedown defense and submission defense are going to be key in that fight against Royval, because make no mistake, that's what Royval's going to be looking for.
Next fighter is the UFC roster staple competing in the welterweight division, Francisco Masaranduba Trinaldo.
Here's a legend making his way. This is the guy taking on our boy Danny Roberts.
43 years of age now, man. Nothing but respect for him. My goodness. To still be competing at this level at my age is frightening. Frightening. I can't even
as well.
I can't even play 5-a-side without aching the next day. This guy's competing on the biggest stage possible in the toughest sport possible. Respect.
Mate, listen to this.
He's getting wins as well, though.
Oh, yeah. Last time out against Dwight Grant, last October. Yeah, same age as me as well, 43. I did jiu-jitsu on Wednesday night for the first time in a while. I've tweaked my back. I've pulled a muscle in my lats. I'm limping about all over the show. I'm serious. I'm like, I got to go get treatment today. I am like, I can't get out of bed. Do you know what I mean? This guy's at it in the UFC. He's out of his mind.
Trinaldo.
Lunatic. Honestly, lunatic. Strong, tough opponent for Danny Roberts. There's no quitting, Trinaldo.
UFC's heavyweight division. He is Marcos Rogerio Peizao de Lima.
All right.
Good name for him.
The heavyweights.
Really good name for him. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a wicked stat about this fella. Check this out. Regarding octagon time, only 2 fighters in the UFC unified rules era have had more than 10 fights in the UFC and averaged less than 5 minutes per fight. This guy is right at the top of the tree. He's had 13 fights and he averages 4 minutes and 56 seconds in the octagon. Do not blink when he's in there.
Yeah, well, his last one against Ben Rothwell, Big Ben Rothwell, and he's called Big Ben for a reason because he's gigantic. It was a knockout in 32 seconds, to your point. So, yeah, very explosive, fun fighter to watch.
Yeah. 7-5 in the UFC, though, and all All 5 were submissions. He's been submitted all 5 times, so there's clearly a hole in his game.
258.5, the official weight for Marcos Rogerio de Lima.
He's a big lad.
So Ivan will be looking to take him down then.
Hell yeah. He's got that judo and sambo that'll help him as well.
All right, next fighter to the scale making his UFC debut in the welterweight division, Cameron Van Camp.
Another one on the early prelims here, Cameron Van Camp. He's taking on Andre Fiallo, who we were speaking about earlier on, who's been super impressive as a contender coming through. Big challenge for Van Camp.
It's a big stage to make your debut on.
I like how precise they're being with the scales today, boys.
Very precise, very cautious. They're not like,
just get some digital scales. What's up with everybody?
Cameron Van Camp.
I think they just like to do it the old school, proper, formal way. But you're right, it'll speed this up big time. Just get some digital bad boys going. You know what I mean? Jump on, you get it to the to the gram. Let's get some accuracy up in this.
All right, next
I think that's the point.
The former UFC
that's close enough.
Lightweight champion and the mixed martial arts icon, El Cucuy Tony Ferguson.
Here he is.
Get ready.
Mixed
Backflip
martial
coming.
arts icon. Wow. The mixed martial arts icon, said Big John. Wow.
Well, he certainly does have a cult following, doesn't he? You know what I mean? And he's one of the biggest, more interesting names, the body of work, the 12-fight win streak, the wackiness, the attitude, the bad luck, the absolute nonsense that comes out of his mouth sometimes. I mean, sometimes he's on another planet, but I think that's part of the appeal. Do you know what I mean? And, of course, the shades. They've had a little upgrade there. Normally.
He's got his shades on.
What's that?
Listen, he's not fully stripped down. He's still got his shorts on. He's got his shades on. All he did was take his phone out of his pocket. Where's he at?
And if it was one of those, if it wasn't a Pro Max, he would have left it in his pocket.
155.5, the official weight for Tony Ferguson.
There you go. Even with the shades on, man. He's in good nick. He looks in good nick.
Oh, he dropped
his
phone.
Tony.
Yeah. He always wears those shades that you get for free on airlines, have you noticed?
Yeah, or $2.99 from the petrol station. That you give to your kids because you're not bothered if they get broke.
Mauricio Shogun Hua.
Correct.
Right.
Now we've got an icon. Now, come on, Anik. Where's the icon shout now? Jeez.
This is the man, right? I started MMA in 2003, and this is the guy that I was watching. And I was just so inspired, enamored by him. And to see him still going after all this time is unbelievable, right? But the end is nigh pretty soon, I believe. But he shows up. He fights still.
He's on a winning run, Mike. Yeah, he's on a 5-2-1 run. He's winning fights. Saying that, he's winning fights against the likes of Little Nog, though. Let's put it into context.
Yeah.
Well, he had a good win against Tyson Pedro. That was a solid victory. Last time out, lost to Paul Craig. It's just the wear and tear on the body after all these years. The surgeries that he's had.
For Shogun Hua.
Yeah.
The knockouts that he suffered, of course.
I think the OSP, matching them up with OSP, again, they're both at similar stages of their careers, aren't they? Don't get me wrong, OSP hasn't achieved, one fraction of what Shogun's achieved. But still, they're both kind of coming to the end of their UFC tenure. They've still got that name value. I get it. And it's a matchup that makes sense, similar to Cerrone Lauzon, but, whoever comes out of it's not going to be the next light heavyweight title contender. Let's be honest.
No, and that's fair to say. That's just an accurate statement. He's not going to be challenging for the belt anytime soon, but there is a certain cachet to having Shogun on a card. He is a legend. He's still competing. He's still able to pass medicals and compete. So if he still wants to do it, and as you say, he's not on a bad run, just because he is got a long resume, and there is some losses on there, as we know, mixed martial arts. It's not the death sentence that it would be in boxing. Yeah, I mean, God bless him. I'm looking forward to his fight. Always tune in for him. I just think this time next year, he'll be a retired fighter.
Yeah.
Fair point. A little bit of a lull in the action, as you can see from Phoenix, Arizona. We're 25 minutes into the official weigh-in for UFC 274. Hopefully you're enjoying the stream so far. It gives us an opportunity with a bit of a lull in the action to talk about some other stuff. I'll just give you a quick update with people who haven't come through as of yet. We still haven't seen the lightweight champion, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje come through. The co-main event is on deck. Both of those girls coming through all good, as is the people's main event with Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson. We're still waiting for Ovin St. Preux. We are still waiting for Norma Dumont from the prelims. Blagov Ivanov. We're also waiting for Rodriguez Vergara in the flyweight contest. We're waiting for Lupita Godinez, and we're also so about 8 fighters. Waiting for 8 fighters still to come through, which gives an opportunity, boys, to have a little bit of a chinwag about some other stuff. We'll get back onto 274 in a minute, but I just want to take our attentions elsewhere, especially for the British audience that tune into us on a week-by-week, day-by-day basis, looking for the content. We told you it was coming. Dana promised us on our live show that they will be back in London, and they have backed it up. 23rd of July is when it's going down. UFC London once again. Nick Peet had the inside information. That's right. He's been at Team Cowboy. He's been asking the questions. Who's fighting who? Well, we can tell you that Tom Aspinall is taking on Curtis Blades. And we're going to see the return of Darren Till on this card as well, taking on Jack Hermanson. I'll get your thoughts on that, Nick. What do you think, mate? Good matchups for the boys?
I think it's brilliant. You know, I think Tom Aspinall proved in March that he is 100% a main event star. And I think Curtis Blades is a fantastic opponent for him. I think you can see there, obviously, Till, UFC revealing there that Till versus Hermanson was in the books as well. That's looking like it's certainly going to be the co-main event, you would have thought, with Till's star power. Massive opportunity for Darren Till to remain in the conversation by getting a big win over Hermanson. You fight a guy outside the top 10, then you're going to struggle, but you beat a guy in the top 10, then all your recent losses kind of get put to one side, especially when you're still considered fresh meat for the champion. But, you know, that it's all about the main event for me. It's all about Tom Aspinall, this incredible run he's on. And if he can beat Curtis Blades, now we're having a serious conversation. And my friend here, Mr. Bisping's starting to look over his shoulder for a little bit of company as British UFC champions, I think.
Absolutely.
Let's stay on the heavyweights.
Well, I was going to
say, let's stay on the heavyweights. What's your thoughts on that, Mike? There's no going back. When you beat someone like a Curtis Blades, there's only one way that you go in, and your next fight's likely to be for gold.
Yeah, well, of course, when you're beating them the way that Tom is beating them, because he's not just beating them, he's just dominating them. He's embarrassing his opponents. He's making it look ridiculously easy, right? Which is awesome. Yeah. It sends all the right messages. It says to the world, hey, I am a contender. I'm coming for that belt and all the rest of it. And we know Tom, he's so humble. He doesn't rest on his laurels. He doesn't get carried away with his own hype. He's still trying to find the best training partners. You know, rarely have I met a fighter so focused and determined as Tom, willing to make the sacrifice that needs to be. And he's going to have to do that in this fight. Curtis Blades is no joke. Stylistically, could be a problematic matchup. We know he's a very, very good wrestler. He's got heavy hands as well. Knocked out Junior Dos Santos. Problem is, when you're thinking about those takedowns, he comes over the top with those thunderous punches. So stylistically, number one is the highest rank opponent that Tom's fought, and stylistically probably the biggest problem as well. So it's a real fight. Don't get me wrong. Volkov was a real fight. And if he can go out there and do the same kind of thing to Curtis Blades, it has to be a title fight next, without a question, because that would be 6 in a row against good competition. And he would be, I don't know, on the sidelines waiting for, because the heavyweight division's kind of all over the place. There's interim belts. There's Francis Ngannou. God knows what's going on there. There's Jones versus Stipe, potentially. There's Tuivasa, and who's he fighting? Someone I forget right now. Help me out. But Cyril Gane in Paris, September 3rd. I'll see you there, boys. But yeah, man, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I just want to say, contrary to what Arnold Allen says about me, I can't wait for there to be another British champion. I've always said I'm the first, but I won't be the last. I am proud. I am proud to see my brothers join me up here. I want other people having one of those Hall of Fame trophies behind me. And Arnold Allen might be the guy as well. So come on.
Just regarding what is rumoured to be the co-main feature, we've just seen a little graphic come up there where Darren Till, he's been out for a bit, obviously off the back of the defeat to Derek Brunson. We know he was rehabilitating his knee, spending a bit of time with Hamzat Chimaev, getting away, trying out some new different things. He's back in, and the matchup is going to be Jack and Manson. Stylistically, Mike, you make of that one? A good one for Darren or not?
Yes, I think it's a very good one. You know, I mean, when you look at the last fight against Derek Brunson, he was taken down and, you know, he was submitted in the third round. That might give you cause for concern. And you think, wow, he's taken on another grappler, another high-level grappler that's got a jiu-jitsu base. But he hasn't got the wrestling that Derek Brunson has. I think on the feet, Darren Till handles Hermansson with ease. You know, he's just far faster. He's just a better technical striker. It's as simple as that. And we know Darren's nasty on the feet as well. Yes, Hermansson's tricky. You know, look at what he did to Gastelum, that beautiful little sweep. Oh, no, it was a body lock takedown. You know, he's tricky. He's got some tricks, but I don't think it's going to be enough. You know, look at what he did against Sean Strickland last time out. If he comes in a similar kind of performance, I think he's going to have a relatively easy victory.
Flyweight division, Rodriguez.
We will revisit this in a moment or two. I know that a lot of people wanted to keep us chatting about maybe potential matchups. I know that Nick's actually created the whole roster for UFC London, so we'll get stuck into that in a minute or so. But right now, here's Rodriguez just about to weigh in. He's taking on Vergara in the flyweight division.
Yeah, this guy, big power, very, very aggressive, good jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and he's very, very fast as well and super aggressive. So, yeah, this guy's good.
Mm-hmm. He's from Team Nogueira, isn't he, in Rio? And I think he made his way to the UFC, Mike, competing on Jungle Fight. But for anyone that doesn't know, that's probably the premier MMA organization in Brazil, or seems to be a great bloodline of future UFC contenders. So, yeah, man, definitely one to watch.
Yeah, Jungle Fight's like the #1 promotion outside of the UFC. Kind of like Cage Warriors is in the UK. It's like an unofficial feeder program for the UFC. And prior to being a UFC commentator, I used to commentate the Jungle Fight shows. I used to just do like a British feed on Fight Pass. And yeah, so if it wasn't for Jungle Fight, boys, you know, people won't get to hear me commentating the events. Come on.
There you go.
All right, next fighter to the scale competing in the UFC Strawweight division, Lupe Godinez.
Good wrestler, Lupe. Make no mistake, that's what she's going to be looking to try and do. You would have thought she took some of the clothes off before walking out on the stage.
Just to make it quicker, yeah, exactly.
You know, have you got a jacket, a hat, some good old-fashioned lace-up boots, stick a belt on, get a tea cozy on your head, earmuffs. It's like, just lose a couple of bits before you walk out, Lupe.
She's talented, Mike, as you say. Based out of represents Mexico, but actually based out of Canada. She lived there most of her life. Both of her sisters actually represented Canada in wrestling on an international stage. So.
Had a good win against Loma Lookboonmee last time out, November 30th, 2021. Not reading that off Wikipedia. That is straight off the top of the dome. I just remember dates like that, and if I'm not mistaken, it was UFC Fight Night Beer versus Tate, November 20th, I believe, 2021, and that was a return to strawweight for Lupe. Decision, unanimous. If you're curious, 7 wins, 2 losses, 1 knockout, 1 submission, 5 decisions. So she's no stranger to going the distance and grinding out those hard-fought decisions.
He learned
Top of your head, Mike. You don't know how old she is, do you?
Fights.
How old?
Exactly,
Hold on a minute. What was it? I remember we were talking. We had the fighters meeting that time, and 28, straight from the top of my bones, as a rock the microphone.
Easy.
Oh dear.
There you go.
If you are just joining us, we've got 6 fighters still to come, one of which, the most important one, and that's no disrespect to the others, is, of course, Charles Oliveira. Still waiting for Charles to weigh in. Everybody else has come through. We've got the co-main event on deck, and we've got Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, just to get you weighed in a little earlier on as well. From the main card, still waiting for Ovin St. Preux as well. Let's get quickly back to UFC London because Nick's got a full roster. He's made all the fights. So all the UFC have got to do is obviously listen to the commissioner, take his advice, and get these booked in. We've spoken obviously about Till Hermanson. We've spoken about Aspinall Blades. What else do you want to see, Nick?
Well, listen, Molly's on there, Paddy's on there. You know, we've got to get all those guys and girls back on that were caught the attention of the British fans back in March. I'm hoping Lerone Murphy's going to make it on there. I know he's back in camp now, on his way back to full fitness. We talked about Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood should have been the first name on the poster. He's got to compete after what happened last time and his fight falling off. So, you know, and the other one, of course, Arnold Allen and Jack Shaw. You know, these are guys that are banging on the door in contention. So, of course, we want to try and keep pushing them in the right direction and get them as close as we can to an opportunity. But I'll be honest, since I published that list on my Twitter account, and it was just the commissioner's list, it wasn't an official UFC, so many fighters have come at me saying, why aren't I on your list? Can you put me on your list to make sure to get on? I'm like, whoa. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just putting it out there. That's not the official list. So
that is what all fighters aspire to get it on Nick Peet's list. If you get on Nick Peet's list, you've made it. You know, in all seriousness, I'm sure it's a very good list. You can't have the same fight card, though. Do you know what I mean? That's I think that's what the UFC, they haven't got to be careful of. But I think the British fans, you know, when you're buying the tickets, yes, don't get me wrong, the one in March was one of the very best events that I've ever been to, and I would love to recreate that and love to see all those fighters competing on it. But there is other people out there. Now we're seeing Darren Till in the co-main, of course. It's only right that Tom should be the main event. I'm not sure is Paddy going to be on there, Nick? I haven't seen anything because I thought they were probably going to expose him to the American audiences for the main event or expose him to some kind of weight loss treatment because look at that. I mean, Shrek's got a wig on.
He's enjoying himself, isn't he?
He looks massive.
He is enjoying himself at the moment.
He's loving it.
Hey, and listen, he's young.
I know he's over your side at the moment, Mike. He's in California, isn't he? He's your neck of the woods right now. So, listen, last time I spoke to him, it was just before he left for California. He said he would love to be on a London card if it was confirmed for later in the summer. But as you say, Paddy's he's crossed over so massively now as a global star that I think the UFC would probably think, you know what, kind of what they did with Conor McGregor early on, taste him in the American audience, get him in front of American fans. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially with the big American promotional deal, the sponsorship deal that he's got. I think that makes a lot of sense next for Paddy. But you can rest assured that Molly McCann and that spin and elbow will definitely be in London.
Yeah, and you can rest assured that if Paddy's putting weight on like he normally does, if he's out in the States, forget about it, mate. Those portions, they're out of control. When we first moved out here, Callum, my youngest, he got fat pretty quick. You know what I mean? You know, so if Paddy puts weight on back home in England, my God, he's going to be gargantuan. But you're absolutely right, Nick. If I was the UFC, that's what I'd do. Paddy he's got the charisma, he's got the talent, he's got the following. Everyone loves the kid. You know what I mean? Stick him on a US pay-per-view, expose him to that kind of audience, and bingo, they've got another Conor McGregor-esque type of star on their hands.
Nick, coming back to your point a moment or two ago that you said where fighters were coming at you saying, why have you not put my name on this list? The beautiful thing that we can obviously talk about right now is that British MMA is in a good place where we don't necessarily have to put all the same guys and girls back on the same card in the summer that we experienced in March, because we do have deep amounts of talent. We've got people that didn't appear last time. People like Lerone Murphy, people like Mason Jones, for example. And obviously, you mentioned Nathaniel Wood there, who was due to fight that ended up falling off. And I would expect to see him on this card.
Yeah, and likewise, you know, I'd like to see Jack Shaw fight internationally as well. I'd like him to go over to the US and be on a big pay-per-view card, on a main card against a ranked guy. He deserves it. So, you know, as much as we want to see our guys do well and we want to support them, we want to be there every step of the way, it's about that development. You know, the UFC, Mike's exactly right with Paddy. Take Paddy away and put him on an American pay-per-view, grow his brand over in America, then maybe put him on a co-main event over in America. And then when you bring him back here in 12 to 18 months' time, he's a fight night headliner. either in London or maybe even in Liverpool or Manchester, he's your main event then. That's what it's all about. It's progressing them forward. I think putting them on again in London might be a mistake. So, and there's a lot of guys and girls like that. And there's guys and girls out there at the moment pushing to get signed by the UFC. It's always nice to see someone make their UFC debut. There's a few fighters just off the radar at the moment, Cage Warriors champions, that you're like, yeah, that person absolutely deserves the opportunity. Just like we've seen with Mo Mokayev made his debut in March. I know he's up on this card again in July, but I'm guaranteed with another big performance, Mo will probably make that Abu Dhabi card later in the year as well, because he sells in so many nations. So I'd love to see a couple of Brits getting their UFC start in July as well, because you know them tickets are going to sell. It's going to be fast. Look at that picture there. There's your main event, and there's your crazy. Look how young Mo is there. No doubt, fresh from moving to the UK. Jeez, Tom looks so young. Yeah. Why does he have that? Why does he have that chin beard, Tom? Hey, why does Tom have the chin beard, which just emphasizes his huge Jimmy Hill chin? He looks so much better than without the beard.
He looks like Sir Francis Drake or something. Do you know what I mean? Or Walter Raleigh. You know, he's very old Spaniard-esque look to him. Man can fight though. That's the main thing. Hey, and let's not forget, we're mentioning all these great Brits. Leon Edwards fighting for the belt soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just waiting for that day, aren't we? Waiting for the all clear for Kamaru Usman and where his hand's at. And once we've got that, I mean, Dana told us that he was next. So hopefully we'll get a date sometime soon. Even have that
straight from his sun lounger.
And yeah, as you said before, Nick, because Rogerio has got a deficiency in the submission department, this is pretty much a straightforward approach for Blagoy. You know, he has got good submissions. He has got judo takedowns. He did it to Taito Avasa. That's going to be the plan here. Rogerio, keep it on the feet and bang. Two big boys, two strong guys, two obvious game plans. Makes for an exciting fight.
Mm-hmm.
Top of the early prelims then too. Before we get stuck into everything on BT Sport, don't forget 1 o'clock is when the prelims get underway. According to my list here, it'll be Brandon Royval and Matt Schnell that gets us ticking. And then the main event. I think
it's Ronaldo versus Danny Roberts, to be honest, pal.
I've got that as the second fight. It's all these lists are all over the place. I've seen about 16 different lists this week. Anyway.
Exactly.
From BT Sports point of view, 1 a.m. is when we get underway with the prelims. And then obviously that main card will start cracking from 3 a.m. So make sure you come and join us on BT Sport 1 for that. One thing that we can guarantee on the main card, we've got two title fights. Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza in that rematch 8 years removed. They've both weighed in. That's done, dusted, in the books, ready to go for tomorrow night. Justin Gaethje is weighed in for the main event. We're just waiting for Charles Oliveira. We've been through this about 45 minutes now. Charles Oliveira and Ovin St. Preux are the two people that we're waiting for off the main card still to weigh in. Everybody, I think, apart from Norman Dumont, actually on the prelims, and we've still got a couple on the early prelims to get through as well. Ian, Mike, got a question for you, actually, regarding one of your old adversaries. I obviously saw you last weekend arm in arm with Luke Rockhold, looking all cheerful. Everybody was happy as Larry there.
Twins.
And then in the week,
yeah,
and then in the week, I've seen that Luke is being matched up with Paulo Costa. What do you make of that?
Yeah. I don't know why you say it with such a negative connotation, the pair of you. I think you both need to.
Why have you taken it like that? There's no negative connotation.
No.
It was him that was saying friends.
There is.
I enjoy seeing you two together.
Friends now.
Let me give you a little story, right? So I was there, I was commentating, and he kept sneaking up to my right side and putting his hand over my face to see if I would notice. And I didn't. I had no idea. And he was getting his mate to take a picture and all the rest of it, mocking me and putting it on Instagram. But I'm like, mate, the joke's on you. That is just accentuating that I knocked you out with one eye, mate. So anyway, but fair play to Dana White, because I was driving home through the desert. And then Dana texted me and he sent me a picture of him like doing that on Instagram. He was like, "Are you guys good?" So I called her. I said, yeah. It's all water under the bridge. He said, okay. I said, yeah, don't worry. Your security guard said at the start of the night, Luke's going to be here, Mike. Do you want me to keep him away from you? I'm like, come on. Don't be silly. We're not children in a bar. Do you know what I mean? Paulo Costa Tough fight. Because one thing I did notice from that picture of me and Luke together, because I hadn't seen him up close for a while, he's aged. And of course he has. You know what I mean? It's 6 years since we fought last. You know what I mean? He is looking a little bit older. The point that I'm making is he, once again, is a guy that's probably coming to the end of his career, right? And he hasn't fought much since we fought, and it hasn't gone well. And Paulo Costa, regardless of his nightmare issue with the scales against Marvin Vettori, and whether or not he won or lost that fight was an absolute goddamn war. Do you know what I mean? And the man hits like a truck. If Luke can beat him, it's a great fight because it automatically inserts him, and again, fresh meat for the champ. But it's a tall order, and it is a tough fight for him after all this time away.
It's been a bit giddy as well this week as Paulo Costa on the old social media, hasn't he? Jeez, you can never figure this dude out. If you follow him on any of his social media channels, he's a reality show just waiting to happen. If he packs this game in, all you need to do is get a camera and follow this fella around, and I'm sure it will be guaranteed entertainment.
What's he doing?
Something like a TMZ. Well, he's been trolling Dana this week. He's been giving him a little bit, and then they've been having a little bit of a back and forth. He's been at it with everybody, mate. All you got to do is follow him. It's watch him for 5 minutes, and you sat there just laughing your head off, thinking, "What is this dude on?" Anyway, like you say,
I haven't seen any of this.
I'll forward it you later on, pal. Anyway, the matchup itself with Luke Rocco, like you say, interesting one, if that can come through. Shall we get some fan questions? There's loads of people interacting with us on social media. Let's get to it. Let's see what people have got to say as we are waiting for Charles do Bronx Oliveira, obviously, to weigh in. A few questions on UFC 274. Do you think Oliveira can handle Gaethje's power? Go on, Mike. What have you got?
Well, he better.
Yes.
Well, he better bloody hope so. Do you know what I mean? Because if he can't, he's going to get knocked out. Because he's going to get clipped. He's going to get hit. It's going to be fast. It's going to be often, and it's going to be brutal. But that's what we sign up for. The man's the lightweight champion of the world. He's no stranger to getting tagged in the face. The reality is that Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler went to war for 3 rounds. Gaethje couldn't knock Chandler out. Oliveira could knock Chandler out. Do you know what I mean? And MMA math doesn't stack up. And of course, it's the punch placement and the time and how fight you are and all the rest of it. There's many, many other reasons that cause a knockout. But when you look at that alone, I think it would be unfair to say that Oliveira can't handle the power. So, Ethan Oxlade, the answer is yes. He should be able to. And Nick,
you said you had a question. Go on. Yeah, go on, Nick.
I've got a question for Mike that takes us back about 15 minutes ago. But when we were waxing lyrical about Shogun, Mike, and this, I think Anik read the icon wrong for the wrong person. There's only one icon on this fight card, and his name's Shogun Rua. Yeah. But just in your career, was there ever a point, because you both kind of crossed over middleweight, light heavyweight at a stage there, was there ever a point when a Shogun fight was potentially going to happen for you?
No, never. And I wish. I mean, I would have been like I remember when I fought Rashad Evans, I was a little starstruck. You know what I mean? When I was in the main event, I was like, wow, I'm fighting Rashad Evans. I definitely would have had that feeling amplified if I got matched up against Shogun, because he is a legend. He is an icon. But no, Nick, never a suggestion, never came into play once.
Because you fought quite a lot of the same opponents as well. There's quite a few crossover opponents and stuff. So weird, man.
Yeah, I would have liked to. Another one was Rich Franklin back in the day. I always wanted to fight him, just out of respect because I was a fan of the guy. But Adam, what have we got? What have we got from the fans?
Well, we've got plenty from the fans. We'll continue with the fans if we've got some more fans questions, because I've got one regarding a potential fighter that's gunning to become Fighter of the Year, but I'll get to that in a minute. This is for you, Mike. Are you entertaining fighting? Oh, Jake Paul, here we go. As if he's wrangled his way into our show, man. How have you done this? Who's done this here now? Joel. Come on, Joel. You know the rules on this show, son. We don't go there. This is about proper fighting. What are you doing, son? Go on, Mike. It's yours.
Yeah, first of all, the man's name is Joe. There's no L on that. It's not Joel. It's Joe. Joe Heisel. So
yeah, it is.
I just like to read them correctly. And I'm cross-eyed. No, you know what? I loved seeing Eddie Hearn absolutely mock and embarrass Jake Paul last week, saying to his face that he'll never be a world champion. And then Jake Paul says, all right, I'll fight anyone on your roster at any weight. under 10 fights. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, again. And then Eddie Hearn offers Chev Clark, who's only had one fight but was an Olympian, and crickets, he goes quiet. All right, so the question. I don't know. I'm not looking. I'll be honest. I'll be totally honest. I'm not looking for a Jake Paul fight. I'm not. However, I honestly believe this, and I'm not trying to sound all tough. I don't believe that would be a fight. I literally, I'll still spar a bit. I think Tom Aspinall's going to come out and do some training. I'll do some sparring and stuff. I'd happily step in and box about a bit with Jake Paul. You give me £5 million. Of course, why wouldn't I? But I'm not out there campaigning for this fight. I'm really not. Do you know what I mean? If they came with an offer and I was like, oh, all right, then sweet. You're going to do what? All right, then. All right, go on then. Go on, son. Come on. Get in here with the old man. I still got a trick or two. I'm still ordering equipment for that garage. People mock me that, oh, you only training in a garage. Yeah, man. I've got every piece of equipment under the sun, and I'll be in there in about an hour's time, and I've still got the power. I've got the speed. I've got the good looks. I've got the charm, and Jake Paul can do me no harm. So I would sign that contract, and I will give it away to charity. Come on, Jakey, baby. What you got? I'm not after a fight with Jake Paul at all. At all.
No.
I've done my bit. I've done
book it in. It's happening at Christmas.
It's an embarrassment. You know what I mean, though. Not that I think I'm like, ooh. Go on.
You tick the box for him, Mike. That's what it is. You tick the Jake Paul box. Someone that's not a pro boxer, has had a great career, but is now happily retired. That's what Jake Paul looks for in his opponents. People who retire, people who he thinks need the money. Because you know what happens? You get a contract and it says we'll pay you £2 million. And then when you get close to the fight, you find out, well, actually, you're not allowed to knock Jake out. You're not allowed to, hit him after the bell. You're not allowed to, and it would help your contract if you went down nice and easy. Come on, man. It's not real fighting. Let's carry on.
Yeah, no, exactly. I would not want to, and I don't think I'm some guy that's held on a pedestal or anything like that, but I wouldn't want to, for want of a better expression, and I know I sound like a bit of a knob when I say this, but I wouldn't want to tarnish my legacy or my brand by stepping in with a bloody Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If I'm honest.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, you keep that same energy when you see me face to face, son. He tweeted out, let's see if Bisping's about that life. I'm like, about that life? I've been about that life for 20 years, mate. Come to one of the pubs in Clitheroe. They'll tell you if I'm about that life or not.
Wait a minute. If he's about that life, wasn't he on the Disney Channel?
I know. He was on the Disney Channel.
That life.
He's 5-0. KSI, a YouTuber, a basketballer that's about 3 foot tall. Fair play, he could dunk a ball. Ben Askren couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. And Tyron Woodley, the sun set on his career a long, long time ago. Do you know what I mean? Come on, buddy. Come on, mate. Anyway. Punch Drunk Pod's got a question, Adam. Move it on.
Where do you think Charles sits in the all-time rankings at 155 if he wins against Justin Gaethje? We kind of spoke about this a little bit on the preview show, didn't we, gents? About the current pound-for-pound rankings. I think the majority of us have got Kamaru Usman as the number one. Israel Adesanya's in that conversation. We've recently included Alex Volkanovski in that conversation, but Charles Oliveira most certainly has got to be in that conversation. 10 straight at the moment. His last 3 in particular were absolutely superb. He's taking on another killer. He's finishing people for fun. Nick, he's got to be in the conversation, hasn't he? If he gets a victory and he gets a statement victory against Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, listen, I think what you're talking about there is the conversation about the pound-for-pound best right now. And he's in that conversation. Yeah. For me, he's top 5 already. And
he's not BJ Penn yet, though, is he? He's not BJ Penn.
Well, that's what I mean. He can only reaffirm this current standing. But when you look back in history of the best lightweights in history, you've got to go back for the full history of the sport, or at least the full history of the UFC, to start looking at who the best actually is. And there's too many guys who are quick at the moment to just throw greatest of all time titles at people left, right, and center. I know the UFC is only 30 years old, but still, come on, let's pay some respects to the guys that have gone before. I think Charles has got an awful lot of work to do before he can be considered the best 155. I think right now, probably struggles to make the top 5, but his journey's just begun as champion, I believe, and who knows where he'll be at the end of his career.
Very well said. Very, very well said, Adam, and I totally agree. I think the main thing, or the main person that is going to get compared to right now is Khabib, right? And if he wins on Saturday night, then call me stupid, but he starts to make a claim. Because Khabib did retire at 29-0, had a tremendous career, and everyone loves the guy. But he never defended the belt that often. You know what I mean? We all know why he retired. There's no point in me telling everyone, because of his mother. And I totally get that. You know, but it doesn't harm the legacy of Khabib. He just didn't defend it 5, 6, 7, 8 times. If Charles can beat Justin Gaethje and then do it once or twice more, there is a real conversation to have. As I said, Adam, I'm very glad you brought up BJ Penn. He's a guy that is forgotten. You know what I mean? Yes, BJ ended his career on 7 straight losses, right? It wasn't glamorous. It was a big fall from grace. But in his prime, BJ Penn was without a question one of the greatest of all time. You know, pound for pound, he was amazing, going up to many, many different weight classes, you know, fought Machida at 205 for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Became the lightweight champ, the welterweight champ, you know. So yeah, listen, there's guys like Khabib, there's Oliveira, there's BJ Penn, of course. Who else am I missing? Who else we got? Come on, boys. Lay that knowledge on me.
Well, listen, I think even though he didn't have an extensive lightweight run, Conor McGregor changed the game. I think he's always going to be in a conversation about any kind of greatness, because when you look at greatness in its truest form, it's not just what you do inside the octagon, it's what you do, the impact you have on the sport, the amount of eyeballs you bring to it. Like, Muhammad Ali's the greatest of all time because of what he did in the ring and outside the ring. So I think that's always got to be considered. And Conor changed the game like no other athlete has changed the game. So I think he's always got to be in a conversation. I'm not saying he's the number one, far from it, but I'm saying he's got to be talked about as one of the best lightweights we've seen.
Agree to disagree. Listen, you're right in terms of what he brought to the sport. There is no denying that. There is no denying that. But he walked in, destroyed Eddie Alvarez, destroyed him, right? Yep. Made it look easy. And that was a phenomenal, legendary performance. And I don't care what anyone says, that was something special. But he never defended the belt. And then since then, he hasn't really had much of a run at lightweight, you know? Yeah, he really hasn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. That performance against Eddie Alvarez was something special. Probably Conor's. I mean, yeah, we know the Jose Aldo one-punch knockout. That was beautiful. But that was over 2 rounds, and that was a dismantling, rarely seen. You know what I mean? So I'm not knocking Conor. That was incredible. I'm just saying the body of work since doesn't really stack up, in my opinion. But I see your point, Nick, and I agree with that in what you're saying. In terms of, you know, the Muhammad Ali effect.
I think the conversation about the greatest, you've got to talk about Eddie Alvarez being in that conversation. He did it in 2 different organizations. In fact, he did it in Japan before he did it in Bellator, before he did it in the UFC. So Eddie Alvarez is in your conversation. You've probably got Benson Henderson, Frankie Edgar, Poirier maybe, Takanori Gomi. You know, these are all people in the conversation. I think Khabib and PJ Penn are at the top. And I think everybody else is pointing towards those guys.
There you go. We've started a debate, boys. Started a debate on social media. People are going to be wild. Listen, before we carry on with fan questions, go on, Nick. Mike, what do you want to say?
No, I was just going to say, because Nick's beating me in an argument, I'm storming off. Okay, I'm going to
the bog. Before we take another fan question, though, we'll do that when Mike comes back. Nick, I want to ask you about, obviously, at the end of the year, we always sit down and we talk about our fighter of the year and people who have set a pace and maybe set an example to everybody else. We're hearing rumours that Alexander Volkanovski is in a quick turnaround. He's going to be taking that 3rd fight with Max Holloway. We're expecting that July time, whether it's at the start or the end of the month. Obviously, he's already gone through the zombie. A fight in July, if he can come through, and I'm not saying he's going to come through because it's a tough fight against Max Holloway, but in the form that he's in right now, with 2 victories already against Max, you would back him to do so. He could probably get another one in by the back end of the year. Listen, this could be the guy. This could be the guy that becomes the fighter of the year this year.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think the They've already put it out there that it's looking highly likely it's going to be the first weekend in July, International Fight Week, cracking main event. Hopefully it's not the only title fight on there. Hopefully that's the card that Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman get on as well. But sensational. And you're right, absolutely. Volkanovski 100% puts himself in a fantastic position to really start running away with the Fight of the Year moniker. And who could knock him for it? He's been nothing but outstanding as champion. He's had 10 rounds already with Max Holloway, whether you believe he won the majority of those 10 rounds or you don't. I'm in the don't, but doesn't matter. He's been absolutely incredible. I'm glad the fight's happening. Max Holloway, I believe, is at the peak of his powers right now. Volkanovski appears to be at the peak of his powers right now. The two of them make a fantastic third-time main event, one of the best trilogy series we've seen. Even though Volk's won the first two, I think you'll find it difficult to find a bunch of fans that believe Volk actually won both the other two fights. So there's still a lot to play for in this third fight. And as we both know, we spoke to him ourselves last week. You've got Henry Cejudo back in the testing pool. He's talking about making a run at featherweight. He's talking about wanting to fight the winner. Come on, man. That's exciting stuff.
It's interesting what you've just said about Max. Mike, I'd like to get your opinion on this as well, because Nick's right. What we've seen since the second Volkanovski fight, he's been brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. The display against Gaethje, the display against Rodriguez, awesome. But then there's these questions of fights falling off because of injury, and where is he at? Where is he at physically right now? Max Holloway. If he's at the peak of his powers, we're in for a hell of a fight. But if he's not at the peak of his powers, given what we've just seen from Volkanovski, this could be Volkanovski's best display out of the three.
Yeah, but look at what Holloway did against Yair Rodriguez and Kelvin Kattar. Do you know what I mean? But that one against
But he's
Yair
been injured
Rodriguez,
since. That's the point I'm making. He's been injured since. He pulled out of the Volkanovski fight, didn't he?
Yeah, how old is Max? Do we know off the top of our heads? I don't have Wikipedia in front of me right now. But
he's a lot younger than we think. He's only just turned 30, I think.
Yeah, that's right, because he was one of the youngest guys on the roster when he first signed. He was only a baby when he fought Conor McGregor. So, yeah, you're right. So that's not really the issue. The problem is this is a tough sport. You know, the fights are tough, but the training camps are even harder. And it's not just when you do one training camp. It's the accumulation of multiple training camps and those little injuries that start off just like a little nag. When you continue to train with them, they get worse and they get amplified. And after a while, it's like, I can't fight with this, or I can't train with this. I'm going to take some time off. Reality is, if he walks into the octagon 100% healthy, I'm telling you, there's not a man alive that he will not give a sensational fight against. Of course, Volkanovski pipped him to the post. That's all it was. He pipped him to the post on both of those fights. It was almost a coin toss. You know what I mean? It really was. You could make an argument for both sides. You could. Problem is for Volkanovski, I almost feel for him, because it's like they're just going to keep fighting until Max gets one. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is Holloway then going to give Volkanovski 2 more chances to win it back? Because that's what he's doing here. He's beaten him twice. You know, you tell me in boxing, has there ever been a situation, I know you guys know more about the sweet science than I do, has there ever been in a situation where a challenger has fought the same guy 3 times just so that challenger can finally get the job done, take his belt, and then run off and go, see you, buddy. Oh, no, I beat you, pal. Ta-ra, lad.
We had a weird situation, didn't we? Obviously, with the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury thing, but the first one was a draw. Obviously, a conclusive second one, and then we had the Pacquiao Marquez situation where they ended up fighting 4 times, and there was a couple of victories there. But yeah, you're right in what you're saying. Listen, it's a fight that I think every single fan wants to see, because those 2 fights, I mean, I'm in the other camp. I do genuinely believe that Volkanovski won both of those fights, but they were so close. They were absolutely razor close. But the point is that Max has earned the right to fight again with the 2 brilliant victories that he put in last year.
But the point is also this as well. If Volkanovski can pull it off, and when I say pull it off, that sounds insulting. If he can beat him again, legitimately fair and square, like he did the first 2 times, regardless of what people's opinions were, that's what the record books show. And they were very, very close fights. There was no robbery. There was nothing like that. No. They were close fights, and he got the nod. He pipped into the post. But if he can beat him again, that fight will never see the light of day, right? Because Max Holloway has no authority to be trying to challenge him once again, because you don't get 3 shots. All right, to be fair, the first one was Volkanovski having a shot at his belt. You know what I mean? But these next 2, it's the other way around. But still, they've fought 3 times. You know, if he does it, that's why I think Max pulled out that one time. You know, if it was like a co-main event or on his way up, maybe you'll take that risk. Maybe you'll fight with a bit of a niggling injury. You know what I mean? But he knows what's at stake here. This is, if he loses, Volkanovski will always be known as the better featherweight than Max Holloway. He'll always forever in the history books be cemented as being better than Max Holloway. So he doesn't want to run that risk of going in there half-cocked. Not that he would be half-cocked, but, you know, with injuries. Like sometimes, as I say, lower on the card, earlier in your career, you might roll that dice and take that chance. But Holloway, as I said before, all fighters, we're incredibly proud. The money, the fame, the adoration, that's all one thing. But the pride of beating that man is what stands out to everyone. For me, that was my big thing. And fighters were all the bloody same. It's our ego, our narcissistic tendencies that drive us because we want to beat that man, you know? So he ain't going to go in there. But the problem is if he loses, that conversation's over. Volkanovski is the man. He is the best featherweight of all time.
Yeah, and Volkanovski, I think, came along at a time when we were talking about Max potentially overtaking Jose Aldo as the greatest featherweight of all time. That was the chatter around it because we're so, you know, pumped up about crowning the next guy rather than looking back. I think now, historically, when you look at it, Jose Aldo, I think everyone would agree, is probably the best featherweight of all time. But Volkanovski is hot on his trail. But if Max can get that one back against Volkanovski, I think what it needs a conclusive winner for me. Because the first two fights were so close. I thought Max could have nicked the first one. I thought Max absolutely won the second one. And yet he lost both those fights in the history book. So I think that's why we're getting a third fight. I don't think there's a single fight fan out there that can conclusively say, oh, Volkanovski won both fights. I don't believe they can. So that's why we're getting a third fight. I think we get a conclusive winner. Certainly if Max wins conclusively in style, Volk will have to go and get a win to get the rematch, to get the fourth fight.
I love that you will die on the hill of Volkanovski not winning either of the fights. You've got him down for none of them. He's not won either of them. Love it. Listen, this is what causes the bit.
Both close fights. Yeah.
This is the beautiful thing for all fight fans, though. They want to see it. Like I said, as Max has most certainly earned the opportunity to fight once again for the title, and it's Alex Volkanovski that is the champion. We're getting that in July. We will confirm those dates as and when we get them, whether it's the first one or the back end, July the 30th. There's 2 pay-per-views in July. We'll keep you across it. On International Fight Week, I think they've already booked Israel Adesanya and Jared Cannonier for that first one as well. We're still waiting for Charles do Bronx Oliveira to weigh in. That's him and Vincent Prue are the people that we're missing from the main card. We've got a couple from the prelims and early prelims as well. But the majority of people have come through the first hour and 8 minutes. We've got about 52 minutes still for Charles Oliveira to weigh in, so we'll keep you across that here on BT Sport. Just a quick one. You can see the ticker going at the bottom of the screen. There's your broadcast times for UFC 274. Prelims from 1, main card from 3. So make sure you come and join us tomorrow night for all this action. It's going to be absolutely cracking. Lots of people online talking about Chandler Ferguson. We touched upon it a touch earlier on, gents. Where does the loser go? Because I keep saying in all the previews, it's a must-not-lose fight. We've got a guy coming in, 2 on the spin, he's lost. We've got a guy coming in, 3 on the spin, he's lost. Where does the loser go, Mike, off this fight?
Well, Chandler said he's here for a good time, not a long time. Champion of a former organization, wanted to come over, make a big splash, become the champion, set some records, make some cash, and retire as a legend. So far, that plan isn't going to plan. It's not going well. Listen, he's delivered nothing but pure excitement. He has shown and proven to be an amazing acquisition for the UFC. But in terms of his goals, what he's trying to achieve, it's not going to plan. So there is pressure for Chandler. If he loses to Ferguson, 3 on the bounce, no shame. But as I say, it's not what he came here for. For Ferguson, if he loses 4 in a row, then we know. The Wolves are at the door. People are going to be talking about retirement, telling him to hang up his gloves and all the rest of it. And that's the main thing that Tony's fighting for here, right? Yes, he's got an opponent in Michael Chandler, but I think he's fighting for the respect of the fight community and certainly the UFC at large as well. You know, he wants to show to everybody, hey, I'm still a contender. I've still got it. I'm still capable of being a champion. If he loses, I don't think he can say that whilst looking at his in the mirror and being honest with himself. You know, he's 38 years old and he had a glittering career. He became the interim champ, went on an amazing 12-fight win streak. That is a great accomplishment. And that might be the ceiling of his career. And if it is, there's no shame in that, you know? But if he loses another one and 4 in a row, and hey, God bless him, he's taking on the best. He's taking on nothing but the best. But to go from winning 12 to losing 4 in a row, there's a clear storyline there that I don't even need to point out.
Yeah. Nick, from your point of view, I mean, we're talking Tony Ferguson here, of course. The 3 that he's lost are to guys that have been winning. This is no disrespect to Michael Chandler because, as Mike just said, he's super entertaining. He's a great fighter. He's been a champion in another organization, but he's a guy that's coming into this on a losing streak himself. Losing to guys that are losing, that then brings a big question mark.
Yeah, I agree, but that works both ways, doesn't it? You know, that works for both Chandler and Ferguson, whichever way you look at it. Ferguson's losses have been against Gaethje, Oliveira, and Dariush, who are guys at the top of this tree as well. So the reason I like this fight is this could potentially be the next contender. Then whoever wins this fight could potentially fight for the belt next. And I know Islam Makhachev's waiting in the wings, but he will continue to wait in the wings because both these fights sell. If Michael Chandler beats Ferguson, Chandler should be cage side cheering for Justin Gaethje to win the main event. Because if Gaethje wins the main event and becomes the champion, I guarantee the UFC do Gaethje Chandler 2, a repeat of last year's fight of the year, for the belt next. Likewise, if Tony Ferguson turns back the clock, beats Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson is fresh meat for Charles Oliveira. Tony Ferguson should be screaming out for that fight, that opportunity. So
I was all about it, Nick.
There that we sell.
I was all about it. I'm like, oh my God, Nick has hit the nail on the head. Sign me up. Who doesn't want to see a rematch of that fight with a belt on the line? And then you lost me, brother. Then you lost me with the Ferguson title shot. You lost me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
true.
Nick's gone off the deep end there.
One of those losses. One of those losses was Oliveira. Sorry, yeah, he absolutely schooled him. So yeah, throw that one out. But Chandler Gaethje is could be a contenders fight. Yeah, absolutely.
No. I totally agree. Because you're right. Makhachev, he is in the wings. He's going to be waiting in those wings. He's going to be flapping about like a little butterfly in those wings until he beats Dariush. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, Michael Chandler, because who doesn't want to see that? Certainly if Michael Chandler can put on a spectacle, another amazing performance, which he has done every single time, even though in the ones where he lost, make it a dogfight, excite the fans, get everyone on the feet, rock it on the microphone, and then call out the champion. If that just happens to be Gaethje, it writes itself.
Easy way.
Just going back to the fans that are sending messages in, Sierra MMA, Tony's decline has been really, really drastic. How do you explain it? Was his streak overrated? It has been a weird fall from grace, hasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it has. But it's like a broken record at this point. Look at who the losses are to. Listen, when you look at his 12-fight win streak, there's some great names and there's some names that aren't particularly recognizable. You know what I mean? But still, UFC caliber fighters, you know? So it wasn't overrated at all. And the fall from grace hasn't been that drastic, really. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's lost 3 fights. He's been dominated, but he saw the final bell in every time. And these are the best people in the world, and one of them's the champ. So yes, it's easy to look at that and say, whoa, it's really bad for Ferguson. But you can make some allowances when you consider the level of the competition. And, hold on, Journey Newsom.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Kicking off the early prelims.
Does look too concerned.
135 and a half, the official weight for Journey Newsom.
No problem.
When you fight at that level of the game, you know, 12 fights is a lot to get on the pounce. Just by odds alone, you know, you're going to lose one at some point or lose a couple. You know what I mean? And as I said earlier in the show, word is that he didn't really apply himself in those training camps. I don't know if he was having some personal issues or whatever, or maybe he was a little too arrogant. You know, being on a 12-fight win streak can do that. So you never know. I am intrigued to see what Tony Ferguson shows up, because if the same one that showed up for the last 3 fights, if he's the guy that walks in the octagon, then that guy needs to walk down the job center Monday morning and find something else to do. And I mean that with respect.
Let's have a quick look at some polls as to what the fans are thinking regarding the 3 main fights that we're talking about here at UFC 274. Of course, we've got 2 championship fights and the fight that we're discussing here with Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler going at it. Let's crack them up on the screen. Where are we at? Oliveira Gaethje. relatively close. It's 40% in favour of Justin Gaethje, 60% in favour of Anne Still with Charles Oliveira. Would you go along with that, Nick?
I would at this stage. I think when the fight was made, it would probably have been a little bit wider in favour of Oliveira. But I think people are liking the look of Gaethje this week. I'm liking the look of Oliveira this week, though, as well. So I think the 60% in favour of the champion is definitely right, if that is right. And Still, yeah, 60% in favour of Oliveira. Yeah, I'll go with that.
That's not relatively close. That's not relatively close, Adam. That's a landslide victory for Oliveira. 60-40, buddy.
Yes,
Next time we do a business deal, I say, and you say we'll split it 50, I say, it's all right, we'll just do 60-40 in my favour.
Michael.
It's relatively close.
Michael, I've just seen the other two polls, all right? That is relatively close. Here you go. Have a look at this one for the co-main event. For Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza, where we at regarding the percentages there? There you go. There you go. Now you can see where I'm coming from, can't you? You see?
Well, in terms of the possibility of Carla Esparza becoming the champion, that is relatively close for her, because I'm telling you, that should be 95-5. That's how confident I am in Namajunas. I apologize to Esparza if she sees this. She's a sweet girl. She's a very nice person. I've got nothing against her. She's a great fighter, but I'm just high on Rose.
Yeah. What is it? 70-30, is it? 78-22.
I'm the blind one, Nick.
Mate, my screen's tiny.
Yeah, me
All right,
too.
then. Here's one for you, Mike. Just on that, then. Would this be more of a surprise? If Carla Esparza wins this fight, would it be more of a surprise than when Nunes lost her title?
That's a good question. It'd be up there with it, wouldn't it?
It's very close, but I'll say no. Just because Carla's been champion before and she's beaten Rose before. That's the only change I'd say.
And let's be honest, Nunes at the time was ruling reign over 2 weight divisions, not just one, and she was smashing everybody. Do you know what I mean? Rose has smashed some people. She's also had some tough, like last time out against Yang, close fight. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Nunes was just like having her way with everybody. And so Payne came in and really upset the apple cart against a 2-division champion.
There you go. I'll leave that
I'll
leave that for people to debate. It's just a question, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like you say, Pena came in there 2-2, I think, into that title fight. And you've got a woman here that is coming in as former champion. As Nick said, former champion, and she's on a 5-fight win streak. So there you go. Right, what have we got for Chandler Gaethje? Chandler and Ferguson. On the polls there, what are people saying? Oh, heavy on Iron Mike Chandler. Unsurprising that 69% of our audience anyway believe that Chandler's going to get the job done, Nick.
Yeah, just because Ferguson, he just doesn't look like the same fighter anymore. Age catches up with everybody. At some stage of their career, they grow old, and Ferguson's performances of late I know he's been fighting top guys, but he just hasn't looked like the same Tony Ferguson. His speed looks like it's slowed down. His footwork's absolutely slowed down. He used to have this dynamic approach inside the octagon, this unpredictability, this fluidity in there, which made him so devastating. That seems to have gone now. He seems to have just slowed down at pace. He's getting caught easily. He's getting beat up. He's losing fights unanimously. He's not even in fights. He's losing every round of fights. That, for me, suggests a fighter that's over the hill and shouldn't be competing at this level anymore. And I think Michael Chandler is more than likely, as the poll suggests, going to expose that on Saturday night. My only hope for Tony Ferguson, genuinely, is that Michael Chandler left too much of himself inside that octagon in New York and is himself tainted goods, in which case that kind of evens it out a bit.
To your point, Nick, sometimes you see fighters and they age overnight. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's potentially the narrative. Maybe it's not. Where Anthony Smith, we do a podcast together called Believe You Me. If you haven't subscribed and ring the bell, then you should do that. Yesterday, he had a very, very good point. Sorry, Max. Yesterday, he had a very, very good point about Tony Ferguson. And he said, because I had to say that I'm stealing his thoughts, you know what I mean? But it was a very, very good point. He said, Tony Ferguson doesn't really fight with a system. He just goes out there, relies on his toughness, his skill, his ability, his instincts, his reflexes, but he doesn't really have a system. You know what I mean? He's not fighting behind the jab and utilizing footwork forward through a buzzsaw, and wherever the fight goes, the fight will go. And because of his toughness, he was able to get away with that for so long, but we have seen that diminish, the ability to take his shots. He has slowed down. The reflexes aren't what they were, and all the rest of it. So this is, again, the pressure situation here is, he has the opponent in Michael Chandler. That's a very tough opponent, one of the best in the world. But the big fight for him is, am I still the Tony Ferguson that we all knew and loved? Does he still exist? Is he still there? Because it's one door. There's two doors he can walk through tomorrow. One door says, right, that's on your path to retirement. Maybe he'll still have 2, 3, 4, 5 more fights. You know what I mean? But they'll just be fun fights, co-main events, maybe main event on a fight night and stuff like that. The other door is, whoa, we're still alive, baby. We're still cooking with gas. Yeah. We're still talking about title fights. So it's two very dramatic scenarios that he faces on Saturday night.
I asked you this question, gentlemen, about an hour ago. Are you worried about Charles Oliveira not having weighed in the first 15 minutes? Well, he hasn't weighed in the first hour and 20 minutes now. Nick, squeaky? Are you getting a little bit squeaky or what?
I guarantee the people. Yeah, I guarantee the people backstage at the UFC are getting a bit concerned now, because this is not like Charles at all. We're an hour and 20 into the weigh-in. There's only 40 minutes to go now. You want your main event done and dusted, don't you? You want to make sure that your main event is locked in, right? Great. Full steam ahead tomorrow night now. No issues. We don't have to change the posters. We don't have to offer refunds or anything bonkers like that. We've got our main event, the one we've all been looking forward to. And until Charles gets on them scales, I think there'll be a few sweaty palms at backstage. It is unusual. I would love to have seen him obviously weigh in by now. The clock's, I'm not panicking yet, but if he's not in the next 10 or 15 minutes, I will be panicking. He's a former featherweight, Mike, so he shouldn't be having huge issues, even though he's fought at welterweight in his career. He's not missed weight of late anytime, to be concerned. So I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. He did fight at 145 for a long, long time. So, and I don't know, maybe he's bulked up, maybe he's put muscle on, maybe he's growing into his bigger frame, so maybe it is a tougher wake up. But my hunch, my guess, and it is a guess, let's be honest, tells me that he knows making 155 isn't too much of an issue. It's an extra pounds. And he said, you know what, let's do it all in the morning. You know what I mean? Because as I say, a lot of fighters, they do the first half on the Thursday night, but you're in a dehydrated state for a very, very long time. So there's a possibility that he's doing most of the wake up right now, and it's all on track, and this is all how they planned it. And the head coach and the nutritionist said, this is the way we're going to do it. You're in a dehydrated state for a shorter amount of time. It's going to help you on fight night. That's one scenario. The other scenario is that they're all in the sauna right now going, Porra, Oliveira, you got to run. Come on, champ. We got to go. And the UFC are going back there with a little clipboard going, oh, my God, the champ's not here. What are we going to do? Call Michael Chandler. He came in at 155.5. Oh, crap, we can't use him. What we're going to do? We're losing a bloody title fight. Dana's like, bro, get that weight off. There could be all hell breaking loose back there, or there's a bunch of Brazilians just chilling in the sauna going, brother, no problem. I don't know why they're talking a Russian accent, but still, there you go.
Dagestani.
Yes, brother.
We had a bit of Austrian, we had a bit of Dagestan, we had everything in there, didn't we, for a second? Yeah. Went through the full repertoire, mate. Anyway, we'll find out. We've got about 35, 36 minutes remaining of the official weigh-in, so we'll keep you abreast of it. Seeing as that you went there, all right, we might as well talk a little bit about Khamzat Chimaev, because everybody's seen the Pivot show this week. I think there's a little bit of kid and play there, if I'm really, really honest, with certain things that have been allowed to be seen by the audiences. We've all been in that war room at certain points, and we've seen names on the big board of who's being matched up here, there, and everywhere. There you can see a little bit of coverage from the Pivot show a little earlier on this week. Listen, those fights are most certainly being spoken about. I don't think every single one of them is nailed on, signed, sealed, and delivered. But the one that's jumped off the page for me is, of course, Nate Diaz, Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev on a great run at the moment, doing some wonderful, wonderful things. Came through a stern test against Durinho, Gilbert Burns recently. Nate Diaz is most certainly at the different stage of his career, Nick. It's an interesting matchup. It's an interesting place to be. Everybody knows that Nate Diaz, this is the last one on his UFC ledger. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how I feel about it. What was your initial thought when you saw that?
My initial thought was that's like a public execution. Listen, nobody needs to see Nate Diaz go in with Khamzat Chimaev. Let's be totally honest here. Unfortunately, I get it. Nate is a commodity. Nate is a pay-per-view star, regardless of what his resume says. He's a cult hero, a fan favorite. And if you've got a gem like Chimaev, who you've just thrown in at the deepest end almost, pretty much right at the deep end, and came through a war, that clearly still needs a little bit of refining before you push him towards a title opportunity. You want to build him into a pay-per-view star. Absolutely the best way to push him is someone like a Nate Diaz, where he can have a massive performance, look sensational, suck a little bit of that extra star power over, buy a bit of time in his progress to then ultimately get towards a title opportunity. It makes sense for Khamzat Chimaev. I don't know whether Covington might just be another big bite a little bit too soon. Go and do a Nate Diaz, make him a superstar, then maybe a Covington, and then we start looking at titles. However, if you're Team Nate Diaz, that makes no sense whatsoever. You do not want to be fighting a killer like Chimaev at any stage, certainly not at this stage of your career. So I think that one was put on there just to get going. I can't see Nate signing up for that one.
Yeah, and the thing is the trilogy with Conor McGregor, right? That's the big fight for Nate Diaz. That's what everyone wanted to see, me included, as a fan. I would have loved to have seen that third fight. It makes the most sense for the company as a business. It makes the most sense for both fighters. For Conor, it's a winnable fight, and stylistically, coming back from the injury that he had, he's not dealing with a crazy powerful wrestler. There's a lot of boxing, so it ticks all the boxes. However, I'm hearing Conor ain't fighting this year at all. You know what I mean? He's not going to be fighting in this calendar year. So therefore, the UFC have to offer Nate Diaz somebody else. You know what I mean? Contractually, they can't just leave him sitting on the sidelines. Otherwise, they're in breach of contract and Diaz can go off on his way. So they have to give him a fight. Now the ball's in the court of Nate Diaz. Does he take that fight? Right? Because you're right. He doesn't win that fight at all. It will damage his brand, hurt him in future negotiations outside of the UFC. Or does he turn that down? Because if he turns it down, then the Conor McGregor fight is back on play next year because it will extend the contract. I don't know the actual ins and outs, but I'm just basing this on, the standard contracts that are in play. This is the politics, what's going on here. So there's a potential that Diaz does take it, and I'd be surprised if he turned it down, to be honest, because he's not a coward, you know what I mean? And he will fight people, and he does want to get out of his contract. I think he probably wants that Jake Paul fight, you know what I mean? Go get a massive payday. But Diaz already gets paid good money. Diaz goes against the grain of the company all the time. One thing you never hear is him complaining about how much he gets paid. You know what I mean? You don't, because trust me, if he wasn't happy, he would say it. You know what I'm saying? So he's getting paid very, very handsomely. Problem is, when you're getting paid handsomely, you get handsome fights, or you get nasty fights, brother, with guys with split lip who smash faces in, no problem. Because that's what's going to happen. Khamzat Chimaev is bigger, stronger, hits harder. Smash, brothers. He's got the best training partner in the world in Darren Till. How can he possibly lose? We got the bromance. We got the NFTs. We got it all. Yeah, no, it's a fun fight, though. I'd love to see it. And you know what? Even as much as we just said about Nate Diaz, because he would more than likely get smoked in that fight. Look at the Leon Edwards fight, One punch in the 5th round nearly turned it around. The point I'm making is you can never count him out. And that's why people love him, because he is impervious to the losses, because there's 13 on there. But people don't care because of the attitude and the way that he carries himself and the way that he fights in the octagon.
Correct.
Yeah. Listen, there was another one on there, Nick, and I know that you are extremely excited about this. In fact, everybody in the MMA community is excited about it because we don't know where the land is currently lying right at the top end of the heavyweight division. We know that Francis is out with his injury. We haven't got any dates as to when he will be back or making a fight just on the rung below. You're going to tell me that it's not the rung below; it's maybe even a rung higher. John Jones, Stipe Miocic. We saw it on that board. I think it's July 30th is when it was penciled in for the long-awaited debut of John Jones. If they can make that fight happen, my word, that would be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely huge. It's been huge since the day John Jones said he was going away to bulk himself up to come back a heavyweight. He's had a strange old few months last year or so, John Jones, and I think he needs MMA now a little bit more than MMA needs him. And now I haven't said that ever throughout my time covering the sport when John Jones has been around, but he needs this sport to get his life back on track a little bit. And I think we will see him come back this year, whether it's the Stipe fight. Stipe's gone very quiet as well. I'm guessing that is absolutely the fight they're looking to make. Of course, it's a huge, huge fight with massive ramifications for the winner. Imagine John Jones coming back after all the time off he's had. Imagine if he were to beat the most successful heavyweights the UFC's ever had. He goes straight into a title shot. I don't care who you are, don't care what you've done. John Jones then goes straight into a title shot for me with Francis Ngannou, which means the likes of Tom Aspinall and Gan and Blades and everybody else has to sit and watch, but you're sitting back and you're watching greatness. For me, John is still the best natural mixed martial artist the sport's ever seen. He's still a GOAT for me. And I think he only truly defines that GOATness by becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. Can he do it? I don't know, man. I haven't seen John Jones fight for an awful long time. And the last time, a couple of times I did see him fight, he was going through the motions against kind of opponents that he wouldn't have had as sparring partners previously. So I just don't know what John Jones has got left. But am I excited to see him come back? You better believe it. You better believe it.
Same applies for Stipe, doesn't it, as well, Mike? Because an opportunity there, if he can dust off John Jones in his heavyweight debut, he's straight back in with Francis Ngannou next.
Oh, without question, lots to play for both men. And I'm not picking on it. It's just more to try and be funny, Nick. So I'm not picking fault with you, but you said John Jones is the most natural fighter, and that is the problem. Do you know what I mean? Is he natural? Has he been natural? Do you know what I mean? I agree with what you.
Are we talking picograms now, are we, Mike? We're talking picograms. Come on, man.
We're talking pulsing picograms all over the shop. But I do agree with you. It's just like, you know what I mean? That's the caveat, isn't it, that everyone brings up. But still, his performances, if we just look at them alone, he's the GOAT. I mean, listen, the best, potentially the GOAT versus the greatest heavyweight of all time. I mean, it's a natural matchup. It's going to be for the interim belt. Ngannou's still recovering. Ngannou's chasing that fight with Fury. Ngannou's out of contract, apparently, in December, so he can do whatever he wants. But he did say he wants to be in the UFC. That is a title that he holds dear. He's proud of that, and rightly so. I understand that. Money fights are great, but also being the heavyweight champion of the world is important to him in the UFC. So, but yeah, I think it makes the heavyweight division really exciting. Certainly now when you got guys like Tom Aspinall as well, tied to Avasas doing big things, the way he knocked out Lewis, when you look at the heavyweight division, there's some real skill, some real power, some real formidable opponents for everybody. Whereas, a few years ago, it was kind of lacking. There was some out of shape. You know what I mean? It wasn't, but now it's good. It's firing. I like it.
Listen, John's a supreme mixed martial artist, as you said, but Nick, the big question is he's had to put on some serious size, and he's been away, he's been bulking up, he's been doing his thing. Has that affected the speed? That's the key question, isn't it, for all fans?
Yeah, listen, it's the inventiveness of John Jones though as well. You're saying that the most natural, but he just flows so well. He transitions from his grappling to his wrestling to his striking to his jiu-jitsu. It's just effortless for him. He was he was a next generation fighter when he broke through at light heavyweight and just blew our minds. With what he was able to do in there. He would beat people at their game. He wouldn't just go in there and by the way, when I say people, I mean basically the Hall of Fame ledger. He would just go in there and beat them at what their strength was. And then we found out, later on that his personal life was just completely up in the air. He was doing it with, on all kinds of substances and up to all kinds in his private life. And yet he was still this complete wrecking machine. Now, don't get me wrong. maybe with that dynamic changing, maybe he won't be the same fighter anymore. Mike Tyson wasn't the same fighter when he kind of, got away from all the chaos and the craziness that went on. Part of the chaos was what made him such a destructive fighter. Now, John Jones was far more creative than that as an athlete, but still, maybe it was the chaos that created the triggers in his brain. Maybe he just loved to be in that moment, whereas you don't know how he's going to react now. I think the size thing for me isn't that big an argument, because, yeah, he will have slowed down slightly. Of course, you put that muscle mass on, it's going to happen. But he's still going to bang, and he's still going to be massive John Jones. He's not going to fight a heavyweight and we're going to go, oh, my God, John Jones is tiny. John Jones was one of the biggest guys on the roster when he was light heavyweight champion, bigger than all the heavyweights. He's still got the longest reach in UFC history, 80 inches or whatever it is. So it's not like he's going to be dwarfed by these guys. For me, it's just the psychology of it. And I think you won't know until and I don't think John Jones even knows until he gets in that octagon and that bell goes and we see just what version of John Jones is left, because it will have to be a different version of John Jones because he's changed so much. Can he still compete at the big table? Is he still the GOAT? Just as long as we find out this year, I'll be happy.
You bring up a good point there, Nick, because you're absolutely right. Jones, with the wildness, the stuff that he was doing in his personal life, call me crazy, but there's a correlation to being wild and being that kind of unexpected behavior. It all correlates to just being an amazing fighter in the octagon. You know what I mean? Having that ability, that wildness. You know what I mean? Fighting's a very animalistic, visceral thing. Do you know what I mean? Once you tame the beast. Once you tame the beast in his personal life, and all, it can have an effect on his fighting ability and the way he fights and the approach and the risk that he's willing to take and the aggression and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? And of course, that isn't for everybody. If you look at Khabib, very, very disciplined and doesn't drink alcohol and all the rest of it. Not everybody, but you'll see a lot of great fighters were kind of wild men. You know what I mean? There is no shortage of them throughout boxing, throughout MMA. Trust me, you get the side that is presented to the cameras. Trust me, they're psychos. They're psychos. That's what makes them so bloody great in the first place. You take out that psycho-ness, and I know I'm, using stupid words, but you remove that part. There's a little part of the puzzle that should be there that is now removed.
Mm-hmm. And listen, we can't wait. And fingers crossed, the date that we saw on the War Room is I won't say nailed in, but in and around that time will be absolutely superb.
23 minutes.
Did you put your hand up there, Mike?
20. I did. Yes. Me
22
at the back.
now.
Me at the back. 22. Listen, everything I said before, disregard. This is not planned. This is not like, let's leave it right. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. This is now, to use your phrase, Adam, this is squeaky bum time. This and
it is,
the UFC staff backstage are rightly so going to be a little concerned. They will obviously be liaising with him. They'll be running back and forth. They'll be sending runners to the camp saying what's going on, how are we looking, yada yada yada. It's a little. 20 minutes is still a long time. It's a third of an hour. You know what I mean? But it's cutting it fine.
It is. For people that have just joined our stream here on BT Sport and don't know what's been going on, obviously this is the UFC 274 official weigh-in show. And we are waiting for two fighters in particular off the main card. Over St. Preux, who's taking on Shogun Hu. We haven't seen him as of yet. But the big concern that Mike's referring to is, of course, the lightweight champion. Charles Oliveira has not weighed in yet. His opponent has, Justin Gaethje. I think he was one of the first two through, following his teammate Rose Namajunas in the co-main event, the champion in the strawweight division. She came through and weighed in. Her opponent's in as well. So we've got a co-main event. Strawweight championship's done. Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson have both weighed in as well. Like I said, Ovis St. Preux is the only other fighter off the main card that we're waiting for. But Charles Oliveira, big concerns, Nick, with 20 minutes remaining of the official weigh-in, that we have not seen the lightweight champion as of yet.
Yeah, I'm just messaging backwards and forwards now with some of the UFC team just to make sure that there isn't too much chaos going on backstage. They seem quietly, the feedback I've just got straight away, they're quietly confident. It's just a little bit of champ behavior. But, as Mike said, no one plans to weigh in the last 15 minutes, not when you're the main event, not when you're the champion. it's all good and well if you're on weight nice and easy. You rock down there, let everyone get out the way, man. I'll rock up in hour number 2. No one plans to rock up in the last 15 minutes. What happens if you could get stuck in a lift? Anything could happen. Any kind of chaos could happen. There's no reason to leave it this late. So, listen, he's never missed weight before.
Unless you're struggling.
I don't think he ever missed weight at featherweight. Yeah,
unless you're struggling, exactly.
But this is concerning now. And this is obviously, don't forget, was he second on the scales? Justin Gaethje was second on the scales. That was an hour and 35 minutes away. Justin Gaethje's rehydrating by now. He's chilling. He's back in his room. Whereas Charles Oliveira could well be in a troubled state right now. It's not good for the champion.
Justin Gaethje right now is in the process of recovering, rehydrating, taking on board nutrients. And what you want to do is you want to have a lot of small meals. You don't want to eat a lot all at once. You want regular small meals. And the more time you have to do that, to bring on the nutrients and balance the electrolytes, there's a lot of stuff going on inside the body that I can't explain, nor do I understand, because I'm not a nutritionist, but I know enough about it to relay a little bit. So having an extra 2 hours is a big advantage. I mean, what is it? 24 hours will be 11 o'clock tomorrow. He's got, call it another 10. We're talking 34 hours. He's got 34 hours. He's going to be in the cage fighting. Every hour counts when you're trying to, because the weight cut can be really damaging to your performance unless you rehydrate properly. Back in the day, we could take on IVs. They are now outlawed. You're not allowed to do that. That's breaking the rules. So you got to do it the old-fashioned way. So every little bit of time counts. Now, as I said, if it wasn't a big weight cut, maybe this is the way he wanted to do it. But to Nick's point, no one's planning on this unless you're a heavyweight. But even still, you never know what's going to happen. You know, if you don't rock up at 11 o'clock, I don't know what happens. Is the fight off? Is the fight off? If he's not here by 11
he's got to weigh in.
Well, yeah.
He has to weigh in.
He's got to weigh in inside the 2 hours.
Even if he misses weight. He has to weigh in.
Even if he misses weight.
Yeah, if he misses weight. But let's just say if he doesn't rock up, though, what's the deal? No fight? I mean, he's going to rock up.
There'll be no fight. Yeah. If he doesn't turn up, there's no fight. He will turn up. He will weigh in at some stage. There may be a rule. I don't know the Arizona State Commission ruling. They may have an hour or 2 grace where you weigh in, you miss weight, they give you an extra hour or 2. Certain states in America have a different time frame, so the fight may not necessarily be on. You've got to get on the scale, though. But he's got to get on the scales. He's got to get on the scales. Yeah, inside the 2 hour window, he's got to get on the scales. Listen, hopefully he does get on the scales. We've not got an issue. If he does get on the scales, Mike, and indeed he has struggled, and indeed he does struggle to make the weight, and everyone's talking about it, does that change Justin Gaethje's approach on Saturday night? Does he then go, right, I'm not going to come out like a bull in the china shop. I'm taking you to deep waters. Or vice versa?
I don't think Justin Gaethje will change his approach at all, just because of the way he is, his mentality to the fight game. And then also, you got to consider this. Let's just say, and we're speaking in hypotheticals here, of course, if he doesn't show up or he does show up and he misses weight, statistically, people that have missed weight have a way higher percentage chance of winning the fight. That's just what the stats and history shows. So I don't think, champion, to answer your question, pardon me?
He'll no longer be champion. He'll lose his belt.
Well, no. He won't lose his belt. This will just be a non-title fight. The belt will not be on the line. He'll still be the champion. No, he'll still be the champ. The belt just won't be on the line. This will not be a title defense. Like when Anderson Silva fought Travis Lutter, right? Granted, it wasn't Anderson Silva that missed weight, but that did not go down as a title defense. It was just a regular fight. If he misses weight here, he doesn't get stripped. He doesn't lose the belt because he hasn't lost the belt. It will just, and the fight goes ahead, it will just not be for the belt. And I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
But Justin Gaethje's made weight, so surely Justin Gaethje, if that fight goes ahead, surely the title becomes vacant.
Nope.
And Justin,
that's a really, no, I don't believe so. And you're right, but that's a really tough situation, and it's not fair to Justin Gaethje. But c'est la vie, that is the cookie that is crumbling on him, and it's those cookies that Oliveira should not have been eating. You know, that's caused this situation. But honestly, if he doesn't make weight, it really sucks for Justin Gaethje. He's the true victim here because he's going to fight an opponent that's coming in heavier, that statistically is shown to be an advantage. And after all that training camp, could you imagine if he knocks out Oliveira, but the belt's not on the line, but then they rematch and he loses that one? Oh, what a sickener.
Just a quick one here, guys, and the team backstage, the production team have just sent this through. I don't know whether they've got it. They can put it on screen, perhaps. Charles Oliveira on his Twitter account an hour ago posted weight tick, peso tick, hashtag UFC 274. So an hour ago, the Bronx was posting on his own Twitter saying he was on weight. So maybe he is just leaving it a bit late, but come on. Wow.
But
to wait until this late in the game feels
But that doesn't make sense, because if you're on weight, get on the damn scale, make it official, and then go have breakfast.
Because your weight can go up.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense at all. I mean, yeah.
There's the post.
Is that posturing? Is he, you know what I mean? I don't know, because if he's on weight, why is he not on the scale? That defies all logic, and there is not an excuse or a reason that someone that could present to me that I would accept. Oh, no, trust me. I think this is for the best. No, there is no for the best here. If he's on weight an hour ago, get on the damn scale.
Yeah.
High drama, boys. High drama. 14 minutes.
I love it. Because chatting away to you two for 2 hours, it starts to get a bit old. Now we've got a storyline. Now we've got some hard news we're reporting on. You know what I mean? I'm in this, baby. Let's go. 14
we are still waiting for a couple of other fights as well. Obviously, Prue involved in that. A couple off the prelims and early prelims still to weigh in. But the big story, as Mike rightfully pointed out, lightweight champion Charles Oliveira. Nick pointed out a moment or two ago, he's posted on his social media, he says everything's fine, but we haven't seen him. And he's now got 13 minutes to get his backside on them scales and weigh in order to get this title fight on. The second person to weigh in early, well over an hour and 45 minutes ago was Justin Gaethje, along with his teammate Rose Namajunas. They're through. We've got a co-main event title fight. Have we got a main event title fight? They will be fun. Oh, hang on.
Light heavyweight division live on the pay-per-view main
card.
OSP. See, the thing is right now, Oliveira, part of...
Have we lost the feed? Have we lost the...
No, he's just taking his time.
No, they got it.
He's had a hell of a weight cut.
Look how slow he's walking.
Oh, and you can see it in the eyes, and he's looking very chiseled and Skeletor-esque in the face. See, because he was a heavyweight, and he was a big old heavyweight. So getting back down to 205 isn't easy. He's going to the towel.
Straight away. It's not a good sign. This is not happening.
Well, no, you're right. There was a potential, because it's like, hey, buddy, I don't care where you're at. You got to get on the scale, because Oliveira's yet to weigh in, so the clock's going to tick. So someone's got to go first. You know what I'm saying? So he's been forced to get on here.
205, the official weight for Oven St. Preux.
Disregard everything I just said.
If I was OSP's strength and conditioner or nutritionist, whoever advised them to stay in the sauna and get down to championship weight, I would run a mile now, because he's probably going to kill him.
Yeah, because let me tell you, as someone that's done this many times, it is so annoying if you get on the scale and you're a pound under. You're like, I could have had water, because what you do is you're like,
the UFC women's featherweight division. As we welcome Norma.
They're dragging it out, boys.
I tell you, they've got me on the edge of my seat.
You're pumped up here, son.
I was just going to say, like, you suck on little bits of ice cube. I need some water in my mouth. I am so like, you suck on an ice cube. It's like, it's literally like heaven. And then you find out you're a pound under. You're like, oh, I hate you. I hate that scale. Let's see what Norma's cooking with.
Number the month, strip right down. Let's see where she's at.
Doesn't look confident.
No.
146.5.
It's over half.
Yep.
Just
half
over.
pound over.
Just over. And that's such a shame for her. You know, she had that big win over Aspen Ladd last time out as well. That's a win you want to build on. You want to keep going. This is disappointing. for her. And at this stage, Mike, when you're just starting out in the UFC like she is, you know, she's trying to buid this career. There's not a lot of money on the table, and losing 20% to Chiasson will be a bitter pill.
They've got to get it together, this generation of fighters. I'm telling you, the new generation have got to get it together. No offense last week to Rob Font, 2.5 pounds. It is not an unusual thing to see now that people are missing weight, right? It should not be tolerated. You know, it's you're not being a professional. You're not living up to your obligations. You're doing a disservice to the fans, to the promotion, to your opponent, to yourself.
Right,
and I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't want to hear them.
CJ Vergara.
I tell you what, Oliveira's really pushing it here, isn't he?
It is. 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 10 minutes. This is the penultimate fighter to weigh in, CJ Vergara. After this, there's only one more, and it's the lightweight champ.
Talk about a way to add drama, though. If he rocks in and makes weight, no problem. It's like, yeah, come
Shades
on, boys,
on.
relax.
Shades on.
You're dealing with the goddamn champ. What do you think this is? Amateur hour?
126, the official weight for CJ Vergara.
Yep. He's done it.
He did it.
He's done it.
There's a lot of commotion in the
Holland's
background.
in the background there.
Either that's his team or Oliveira's making his way up. One or the other.
Yeah.
But it was timed nicely with the 126, so probably his team.
Just a little one for people that are just joining us. Every fighter bar Charles Oliveira has weighed in. Norma Dumont is the only fighter to miss. She missed it by 0.5 pound. We are still waiting for Charles Oliveira, the lightweight champion. We've got 9 minutes. And they've decided to
save the main event.
Jeez.
Well, in the next 9 minutes, he's going to show up. That's a fact, right? I don't think we've ever seen a fighter just not show up. You know what I mean? Nick Diaz doesn't show up to press conferences, but he shows up to the scale. So he'll show up. The question is whether or not he's...
She got 1 hour.
Did you hear that?
Norma Dumont's got 1 hour to get rid of that £0.5 pound. So according to the Arizona State Athletic Commission, he'll have an extra hour to shift as long as he's within a certain percentage.
Yeah. My real question is, if Charles comes on and he's overweight, do we got to still stick around for an hour and talk? I was like, okay, nah, it just became a 3-hour show.
Well, listen, we'll just tweet it. Just send a little Instagram video in or something like that. That's it.
Yeah. Stick an Instagram story on. Yep, he's good. He made it. See you tomorrow. 8 minutes.
I've just had a little... Our producer, Max, has just buzzed me in my ears going, go get some coffee and snacks, lad. You're here for another hour.
Yeah. Settle in, boys. You're going nowhere. Yeah. 7 minutes. 7 minutes, yeah.
Mike, have you ever been in this situation where your opponent like this has pushed it right to the limit and maybe you've caught wind of it whilst you're rehydrating? Are they not on weight and what have you? Have you ever been in this situation?
I don't think so. Then the closest I ever came to missing weight was when I fought Jason Mayhem Miller. First time I stepped on the scale, I was 0.02 because they use digital scales, 0.02 of a pound over. And, rightly so. I was like, it's 0.02 of a pound. Come on. And they were like, nope, you got to make that weight. I went, okay, all right. Went to the gym, ran for 10 minutes on the treadmill, came back, and I was like $0.5 pound on that. Now, hold on, we're zooming in on something. But yeah, I don't think so, because whenever I've weighed in, you're just focusing on yourself. Like right now, Justin Gaethje is probably eating and he's probably taking a nap because he's so tired after the weight cut.
The man around whom this fight card was built, the
here we go, boys.
UFC lightweight champion Charles Bronx.
5 minutes to go.
Drum roll.
Wow. Let's see what he looks like. Well, he's come straight from the sauna.
Skipped up them steps pretty sprightly then.
He's got a swagger.
Yeah, he looks fine.
He just he's trolled us all, hasn't
he? He has. $156.
He's missed.
156.
He's missed. Yeah, he's missed. He's missed by a pound. For people that are tuning into this, obviously there's a championship fight. He has to hit 155. 156 is only for non-championship
fights. Get them £1 undies off.
So we've got a bit of drama here on the way in for UFC 274. Charles Oliveira has missed on his first attempt. He's missed by 1 pound. I don't think them kecks are going to weigh a full pound. I'm going to be dead honest with you.
No, they're not. And then right here, what you're trying to do is you raise your arms in the air. Sometimes that doesn't do anything. You actually breathe out like your breath is going to like weigh anything. Charles isn't.
Here we go.
Come on, son.
It's not level yet. Struggling there.
It's not got a heavy touch, the lad on the scales, hasn't he?
I know, it's one extreme to the other.
Or someone's touching the scale, so therefore it's not balanced. He's still missed. 55 he's missed by half.
155.
So he's going to
for Charles Oliveira.
So now it's a case of, well, he has an hour. We know that. The Athletic Commission said earlier for, I think it was OSP. No, it wasn't OSP. Norman Dumont. Now it's all about, has he got the energy? Has he got it left in him? You know what I mean? Because the body, there's only so much you can sweat, but also there's only, has he got the mental capacity and the physical strength to be able to do it and to be able to endure it? He's got to go back in the sauna. He's got to get on a treadmill. He's got to get the plastics on, the sweatsuit and all the rest of it. It is so, he's just a formality here. But it's heartbreaking.
For the photo, Charles will have 1 hour to cut the final half pound.
It is heartbreaking.
Not look happy, did he?
We shouldn't be. This is disastrous. Even if he makes it, as I say, Justin Gaethje is probably eating and taking a nice little nap right now, letting that recovery happen naturally while he sleeps. And on the flip side, the champ's running around like a headless chicken, scrambling.
So the big news.
It is only half a pound, Mike. So
yeah,
I'd be surprised if he doesn't make weight, and he's got an hour to lose it. I'd be surprised if he doesn't lose it. But this could be a game changer in terms of who you think is going to win the fight. A game changer.
Yeah. I mean, an hour, half a pound. Where is he? Arizona. I don't know what the weather's like there right now, but half a pound's not a lot. But as I say, you have only got so much you can give, depending on how much he's cut. If it's been a drastic weight cut, which I would assume it is because he's missed, logic points to that, then it's going to be hard to get that off. Yeah. He's messed up. It's not impossible. He'll probably, my hunch, he'll get the half pound off. It's a title fight, for crying out loud. But it's bad. Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah. So the big news, just in case you are just joining our stream here for the UFC 274 weigh-in, is that Charles Oliveira, the lightweight champion, has missed weight. Weighed in originally at 156, stripped down to his kecks. Still missed it by half a pound, and therefore he's been given an hour to go and shift that extra half pound in order to make championship weight for the title fight that is scheduled for the main event against Justin Gaethje. The co-main event is in the books. Rose Namajunas taking on Carla Esparza in their hotly anticipated rematch. We've got a great fight to look forward to between Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler. Everybody else came through bar Norma Dumont. She missed by half a pound as well, and she's also been given an extra hour in order to make the weight. Keep an eye on our social media feeds throughout the course of the next hour, because I'm sure that we will keep you up to date with everything that Charles Oliveira is getting up to. Because, like I said, he's got 60 minutes to get himself back on them scales and make the weight. Bit of high drama, boys. Normally these are just tame affairs. People take the kecks off. They have a bit of a weigh in. We're all high-fiving each other. We'll see you tomorrow. Great stuff. We have a lovely conversation about various bits and bats. All those things have happened, but we've finished with some serious high drama. Phoenix, Arizona, UFC 274 still awaits the confirmation of its main event and confirmation as to whether the champion will be defending his championship. We'll keep you up to date with it across the BT Sport social media channels. Don't forget, UFC 274 gets underway with the prelims. 1 o'clock is when it all gets going on BT Sport 1. That main card gets going from 3. And then make sure you come back to join us 3 on Sunday as we give you a review. And hopefully we're reviewing a main event that's got a title on the line. We'll catch you next time.
The most dangerous guy in the division.
One of the best fighters I've ever seen.
This is special.
She has all the skills to get her belt back.
This is it.
Rose Namajunas is coming for revenge.